Chapter 744. Turning over, she pulled Jiang Zhao's hand and hugged herself. After a while, the sound of a woman's even and satisfied breathing could be heard. After Jiang Zhao kissed Yi, he really couldn't fall asleep, especially now that he was leaning against her back and hugging her. His hand slid into her pajamas. After she got pregnant, her chest seemed to have grown bigger, as if it had swelled up. His large hand cupped her breasts, which were very pink and full. He couldn't help but rub his nose against her neck. The thing in his hand had a kind of magic. He hadn't touched her in a long time, and he could clearly feel that part of him was already uncontrollably pushing against her butt. Yi twisted and moved forward. She moved, but Jiang Zhao wanted to find a place to press against her. He chased after her and slid his hand into her underwear, fiddling with it. Yi was sleeping soundly, but she was having a dream before she was pregnant. In her dream, she saw Jiang Zhao's fingers entering her body. 1 finger, 2 fingers, 3 fingers. She was so full that she was about to cry out. She would always feel weak because of him, and her lower body would be uncontrollably wet. Be good, wifey. 3 months have passed. Let's try it today, okay? Jiang Zhao said as he pulled down Yi's pants. He slowly pushed and squeezed. Ah. Yunyi, pregnancy is really a blissful and torturous thing. Jiang Zhao said in a low and hoarse voice. His breaths were heavy and trembling. He held her breasts, not daring to go too deep or too fast. He tossed and turned until he was completely drenched. Ah, Zhao, I want. Xia Qian's car was thrown into the trunk by Qin Fian. He threw her into the car and threatened, Xia Qian, don't move. Otherwise, be careful. Xia Qian really didn't dare. She obediently sat in the back seat and watched Qin Fian's changes without blinking. When the traffic light turned green, she wanted to open the car door and jump out, but the central control had already locked the door. I knew you wouldn't be honest, so I locked the car door. What do you want? I don't want to do anything. Let's go eat and watch a movie. Right, I want to have a candlelight dinner with you. It's very romantic. You'll definitely like it. Xia Qian's heart twitched. Who would tell her to face a homosexual? How was she supposed to deal with such a strange change? Especially when he sat in the back, he could see him occasionally turn his head and smile. This smile was beautiful, but it was too scary because he had never smiled at him like this before. Xia Qian was increasingly suspicious of Qin Fian's purpose. Confession of Xia Qian, God, everyone says that I'm an idiot. Please give me some pointers. How can I destroy a man like Qin Fian? Why did he ask me to go instead of having dinner and watching a movie with his boyfriend? Did he get some voodoo from Miaojiang and put it in my food? I haven't cured my terminal illness yet. What should I do if he gets another voodoo? What kind of voodoo does he want to put in me? Will he control me and make me commit murder and arson? I don't eat. How can that be? You have to eat. Qin Fian deeply understood the words on the radio. No matter what you do, you don't have to ask for a woman's opinion. If you do it by force, you'll just be slapped in the face or two. A romantic candlelight dinner. No, to be exact, it was a candlelight supper. Qin Fian booked the entire second floor of the Western restaurant. He took Xia Qian's hand and went upstairs. Then he put his arm around her shoulder. The waiters all knew Qin Fian. He was a handsome man in high city. At this time, a homosexual came to the restaurant with a woman in his arms. It was big news. Without asking for Xia Qian's opinion, Qin Fian ordered the food. The waiters lit the candles according to Qin Fian's request. The candlelight on the candlestick flickered and the flames danced. Their skin started to turn orange-red. The flames in their eyes danced. Qin Fian stared at Xia Qian's eyes. Actually, it was different. Bing Dan Er's eyes were different from Xia Qian's. The light in her eyes was different. Bing Dan Er was smart, while Xia Qian was a little silly. Xiaoye said that after Xia Qian woke up, her reaction was always half a beat slower than others. Therefore, her grades were not very good. In fact, it was Zhuang Yichen who helped her get into the media college. Xia Qian did not get in at all. Because she was not smart enough and did not study well, the teachers did not pay much attention to her. She also had fewer friends. Therefore, when she had Yi Er as a friend, Xia Qian almost wanted to be friends with Yi Er. Xiaoye said that no one wanted her to remember the past. She also hoped that he would not mention it. Qin Fian was very conflicted. In the end, he chose not to talk to Xia Qian about the past. If he reminded her of her parents' death, even if she remembered him, she would still be in pain. His eyes were a little sore. Qin Fian forced himself not to be so sad. He pushed up the glasses on the bridge of his nose. He pushed up his glasses and poured some red wine for Xia Qian. Xia Qian was afraid of Qin Fian for a while. After a while, she would be stupid again. How could she drink the food when she knew it was poisoned? She would not fall for his trick. Qin Fian, let me tell you, don't forget. Have you forgotten? Have you forgotten that you were raped by me? I'm very fierce. I'm very powerful. When Qin Fian heard Xia Qian's words, he remembered his favorite saying in the past. We love very rich. Not many families in Starfield Town are as rich as us. He could not help but smile. He raised his glass and took a sip. Yes, I remember. I won't forget. You were the only one who raped me before. Then how dare you provoke me? I didn't provoke you. I want you to marry me. Xia Qian was speechless. Could this man not say anything else? Did he think that she would be interested in him just because he was good-looking, even if he was gay? Was she that kind of person? How could she be that kind of person? She was just good-looking and had a good figure. She could play with that place. Wow! It was huge. Forget it. She did not want to think about it anymore. Her nose was burning. She felt that she was close to death again. She said contemptuously, "Were you dumped by your boyfriend?" Qin Fian cut the steak seriously. He cut it into small cubes. After cutting a whole piece, he stood up and placed the portion in front of Xia Qian in front of him. He sat down in front of Xia Qian and continued cutting. I don't have a boyfriend. Xia Qian shook her head in disbelief. Don't be like this. Although I'm also a media person, I'm not a reporter. I won't expose you. Qin Fian used to think that it was good to tell others that he was gay. The women in the company wouldn't crawl into his arms, and the daughters of rich families wouldn't hug his neck and kiss him hard at the cocktail party. He had promised Bing Dan that he would never kiss a woman other than his wife. This was fate. His lips had only kissed Xia Qian, so Xia Qian had to be his wife. But now it was troublesome. No one believed that he really wanted to pursue her. She didn't remember the past. It didn't matter if she didn't remember. He had to marry her. The two of them chatted as they ate. In the end, Qin Fian walked up to Xia Qian, pulled her up, and said on the radio with a loving look. Qin Fian thought that his gaze must be affectionate because his Bing Dan had grown up. He reached out and pinched Xia Qian's chin, pulling her in front of him. Xia Qian was shocked, especially by the way Qin Fian looked at her. Why was it so strange? Did he think that she was his boyfriend? Did he really get dumped by his boyfriend? Qin Fian saw that Xia Qian couldn't get into the situation at all and was a little annoyed. He pinched her chin and said domineeringly, "Xia Qian, close your eyes. I'm going to kiss you." Qin Fian felt that this was the right rhythm. He didn't need to ask if she was willing. Just say that he wanted to kiss her. As they kissed, she would become one of them. When Xia Qian's lips were sealed by Qin Fian, she was dumbfounded. She pushed Qin Fian away and said disdainfully, "Why are your kissing skills so bad?" It was like being bitten by a dog. She must have never read a romance novel, right? Qin Fian didn't blush and his heart didn't skip a beat. "If you're good at kissing, then kiss me." At this moment, Qin Fian's IQ had dropped. He actually gave such an order. It was really meaningless. Xia Qian naturally ignored him. It was okay if she ignored him. Qin Fian was thick-skinned now. If she didn't kiss him, he could still kiss her. Anyway, she didn't slap him. Maybe she would become one of them soon. Xia Qian trained every day. However, compared to Qin Fian, who also trained every day, her strength was not just a little bit weaker. There wasn't even a waiter in the Western restaurant on the second floor. According to Qin Fian's request, all the lights were turned off. There was only a candlestick on their table. There were 3 candles on the candlestick. The candles burned with tears, and the rhythm of the flames was unclear. The rhythm was unclear, and the light was unclear. Xia Qian was pressed down on the sofa by Qin Fian. "Qin Fian. How dare you press down on me? Kiss you, press down on you, marry you." After the announcement, they continued to kiss. Men should have an innate ability to explore women. For example, how to quickly change from inexperience to familiarity. Xia Qian thought that Qin Fian was biting her like a dog at the beginning. But at this time, the man already knew how to play with his tongue. Qin Fian himself was surprised to find that kissing could be changed. He actually put his tongue into her mouth, stirred it, and sucked it for a moment. This process, slowly and deeply, became more and more interesting. It was really amazing. Qin Fian was touched by his own intelligence. So, he explored the kissing for a long time. During this process, Xia Qian tried to bite him several times, but he escaped. Xia Qian was very disobedient. She was a person who had read countless novels. How could she be pressed down on by someone else? But this man didn't even give her a chance to speak. Qin Fian's intelligence had not only increased in kissing, but also in other aspects, such as touching. This was his nature. After a man hugged a woman and kissed her, he wanted to touch her everywhere. The first place he wanted to touch would be her waist or butt. The most he wanted to touch would be her chest. Welfare, Songshu 566. Chapter 745. Xia Qian exclaimed, "You touched my chest." Qin Fian answered affirmatively, "Yes, of course." There were only the 2 of them on the second floor. Even if the people downstairs heard the screams, they wouldn't go upstairs. Who didn't know about the ambiguous relationship between the people at the candlelight dinner? It was very normal for ambiguous relationships to happen. Qin Fian had never found anything cute about Xia Qian. But ever since he found out that she was his fiancée, his attitude towards her changed completely. Although Xia Qian was a little silly, he felt that there was no need for women to be too smart. Although she would make mistakes sometimes, she was not evil. She would not wholeheartedly harm others or mess with him. That was because they had a grudge. If she did not get back at him even though they had a grudge, she would be too stupid. So, this was the right thing to do. In the past, he had thought that Xia Qian was not pretty. Anyway, none of the women he had seen were pretty. They all looked the same and could not compare to Bing Dan. But now, looking at Xia Qian, he felt that she was not bad. Her double eyelids after plastic surgery looked better than Bing Dan-er's single eyelids. Bing Dan-er's eyes were big, so her double eyelids were just right. Her chest was really a problem. In the past, it looked quite small, but now it felt quite right in his hands. When he pinched it, it was very springy. As he pinched it, he realized that his breathing was not quite right. Qin Fian. You pervert, I'm going to sue you. Xia Qian was so anxious that her face was red and her heart was racing. Qin Fian was being a pervert. He did it on purpose. A homosexual actually touched her chest. Her chest. Not only did he see it, but he also touched it. Qin Fian held Xia Qian tightly. It was winter now, and the air conditioner was on upstairs. She took off her jacket. She was neither fat nor thin. After struggling, there were small beads of sweat on the tip of her nose. She really looked like Bing Dan-er. Bing Dan-er loved to sweat on the tip of her nose. After understanding the essence of kissing, he stuck out his tongue and licked her lips gently. His lips curved into a smile. What's the point of suing me? If you have the ability, let me marry you. That's the challenge. Why are you marrying me? Qin Fian held Xia Qian's hand. It was as if he was living in the dark, looking at the wooden planks. Sunlight and sound seeped through the cracks. He was talking to the girl outside the wooden planks. He pinched her hand, placed it on his left cheek, and rubbed it. His voice suddenly became very slow. Qian, marry me. I don't want much. You can give me 3 cows as dowry and $1. It doesn't matter if it's fake, as long as it looks expensive. After I marry you, I promise I won't kiss other girls like in the movies. I promise I won't divorce my wife like Father Niu on the slope. Xia Qian was in a daze. She stared at Qin Fian with widened eyes. His words were getting slower and slower, and he was getting choked up. But why was he telling her all this? Qin Fian, are you crazy? Who raises cows? Only someone like you would wear a fake watch, right? Who was Father Niu on the slope? Do you have a fever? Did you become confused after being dumped by your boyfriend? Qin Fian thought about it. He might as well steal Xia Qian's household register and get married to her at the Civil Affairs Bureau. What was there to chase after? It was too troublesome to chase after her. They had been kissing for so long, and she wasn't even one of them. Jiang Zhao had advised him before, Fian, you can't treat gratitude as feelings. Maybe when you were 15 years old, you were very grateful to Bing Dan for rescuing you from the cellar. You stayed at Bing Dan's house every day and received her family's kindness. Our family values relationships very much, so you wanted to know how to repay them. However, you can't use your marriage as an act of gratitude. You can live with her for a lifetime. If you don't like her, everyone will suffer in the future. Now that she doesn't remember you, you can find a woman you like and live with her. He had thought about it carefully. What did it feel like to like someone? Did he treat gratitude as feelings? He clearly remembered the moment when he sat on the long-distance bus and turned around. He saw Bing Dan wiping her tears as she looked at the bus he was sitting in. Bing Dan had never cried in front of him before, so when she saw him, she smiled at him and waved at him. He also cried at that time. After that, every year when he went to Starfield Town and looked at the empty courtyard, he could see Bing Dan running around happily. He always wanted to cry, afraid that he would never see that person again. If he was grateful, he should only remember the time in the cellar and not always go to the places she brought him to play. At the age of 15, no matter which era a child would have their first awakening of love, right? But once his love awakened, he kept it open and never thanked her. He remembered answering Jiang Zhao at that time, "Brother, I don't think women are good-looking. None of them are as good-looking as Bing Dan, or as good-looking as Xia Qian. How can I like her? I think Xia Qian is good-looking now. In the past, she looked good with single eyelids. Now that she has double eyelids, she's not bad either." Jiang Zhao was speechless. "You're marrying her because you promised to marry her. Shouldn't I marry her if I promised to marry her? Isn't that going back on my word? But she doesn't want to marry you. But I want to marry her. She has to marry me even if she doesn't want to. Brother, you said that I don't like her. Then tell me, what does it feel like to like someone?" Jiang Zhao looked into the distance and said with a smile, "You often think about her and think that she has a lot of good points. In the end, as you think about it, her flaws become her strengths. Even if she's not perfect, she's very pleasing to the eye. You don't think of her burdens as burdens. You feel that it's your duty to help her solve those burdens and make her feel more relaxed. You feel very satisfied to be able to see her lying by your side every day. If you give birth to a pair of children, that's the happiest thing." Qin Fei rolled his eyes at Jiang Zhao. "Then I definitely like her. Needless to say, she's pleasing to the eye now. I used to think that she was stupid, but now I think that she's cute. I want her to give birth to children for me in the future. How can one pair be enough? Give birth to 10 children." Jiang Zhao snorted. "Do you think she's a pig?" "I'm exaggerating. Didn't you learn Chinese well in primary school? I'm using exaggerated words to express my love for her. What do you know?" Qin Fian came back to his senses. Xia Qian was still trying to break free from his control. He looked at her seriously. "Xia Qian, think about it. I really like you. I like you, so I want to marry you. But I don't like you. Feelings can be cultivated. The soil has already become saline alkali soil. How can you cultivate it? What kind of thing can he cultivate? Then let's improve the soil. But, don't say, but, Qian Qian. Let me kiss you again." Qin Fian had never hugged and kissed a woman like this before. The feelings in his heart came out again. His dependence on Xia Qian grew with each passing second. This kind of feeling was like pouring oil on a small flame. With a bang, the flame was pulled up high. When his mouth was dry, he pulled Xia Qian's clothes. Xia Qian glared at Qin Fian fiercely. "Don't you dare touch me again. Don't you dare touch me again." As she spoke, she stuttered. In the end, she said, "If you touch me again, I'll sleep with you." As soon as she said it, Xia Qian regretted it. Qin Fian was not the Qin Fian from before. Her words would not scare him at all. Qin Fian was speechless. Yes, sleep with her. If he slept with her, she would become one of his people. He suddenly realized that Xia Qian needed to be provoked. She hated him, so she wanted to go against him. In the past, he hated being touched by women, so she wanted to touch him. Qin Fian propped himself up and quickly left Xia Qian's body. He walked back to his seat and sat down. He straightened his thin pink and purple sweater, picked up the wine glass, and took a sip. He immediately said contemptuously, "You want to sleep with me? Humph. Just by you. Can you afford to sleep with me?" "What?" Xia Qian was angry. "Just by me. Sigh, I realize that I won't torture your body gently anymore. I'll use this method to scare you. Look at how scared you have been recently. Are you scared out of your wits? Although you used to scare me, compared to how I'm scaring you now, what you did to me in the past was child's play." Ha! Qin Fian laughed proudly. It was the kind of arrogance that came after a scheme had succeeded. How could Xia Qian take this kind of provocation? She had been played by this man from the beginning. He had used this kind of method to scare her. What did he mean? Had she lost? Well, this homosexual was indeed insidious. Qin Fian observed Xia Qian's eyes. They kept rolling, and he didn't know what she was thinking. However, she didn't seem to be afraid of him now. He had a feeling that he wanted to go all out with her. That was good. She was not afraid of him. Xia Qian, I'm warning you. I can only play with you like this. But between us, I'm definitely the one playing with you. When I kissed you just now, you must have thought that I would sleep with you, right? Huh, how could that be? You're not even as good-looking as my boyfriend. God, forget it. I can't bear to hurt you. Qin Fian finished this mouthful of wine and unilaterally ended this candlelight supper. Xia Qian recalled that during this period, she had been avoiding Qin Fian's pursuit like a cat. She was scared to death, but this guy was having fun. He said that he would not torture her body gently anymore and use this kind of method to scare her. This despicable guy. When Qin Fian came down the stairs, he clearly heard Xia Qian's roar. Qin Fian. I won't let you off. The man leisurely walked away, humming a song, and took Xia Qian's bicycle with him. Xia Qian's belongings were robbed. She beat her chest and stomped her feet in the parking lot. She swore that she would destroy Qin Fian, that homosexual. Qin Fian returned to his residence and called Jiang Zhao. Jiang Zhao had just finished showering and came out of the bathroom. After getting into bed, he didn't dare to hug Yi anymore, fearing that he would want to do it again. His work phone vibrated on the table, making a woo-woo sound. He quickly got out of bed and went to the opposite room with the phone. The number on the phone was Qin Fian. What are you doing? Calling my work number in the middle of the night. Awesome novel, Hongcha 866. Chapter 746. Your private number is turned off. What else can I call other than your work number? You know that my phone is turned off, yet you're still calling. Is there something that can't be said tomorrow? No. Just spit it out. Qin Fian hesitated for a moment and finally decided to ask his senior. Brother, let me ask you. How can a girl take the initiative to sleep with you? You want Xia Qian to sleep with you. Fian, is there something wrong with your brain? Aren't you being too hasty? Tell me about it. Qin Fian felt that asking Jiang Zhao about this was more reliable than asking Zhuang Yichen. After all, Jiang Zhao was his blood-related brother, so the element of embarrassment was much less. Jiang Zhao suddenly remembered that there was a time when he had a conflict with Yi Er. He drugged Yi Er, and Yi Er later, of course, he couldn't tell Qin Fian the truth. He could only pretend to be deep in thought before discussing. Why don't you seduce her? You look good anyway. This won't work. Jiang Zhao said hypocritically. Then why don't you drug her and make her pounce on you? But this method might not be effective, and it's a little immoral, right? Brother. I think it's too immoral. The way she's treating me now is the most immoral. Qin Fian's goal was to make Xia Qian one of his own. How could it be immoral? After Jiang Zhao hung up the phone, he thought about how immoral he was to Xia Qiankai for coming up with such an idea. Xia Qian suddenly bumped into a telephone pole. After a nosebleed, she collapsed again. Leukemia. Sometimes, it wasn't her imagination that ran wild. Her body had always been weak. Her classmates who stayed in the dormitory every day and didn't exercise had better resistance than her. So when there was something wrong with her body, she would start to think about it. She thought about how Qin Fian actually looked down on her. What did he mean by, you? Can you afford to sleep with me? It wasn't Shang Dynasty. Who did Qin Fian think he was? Why couldn't she sleep with him? Looking up at the street lamp, he reached into his pocket and took out a small packet of tissue paper. He took out a piece and used it to wipe the blood from his nose before plugging his nostrils. Xia Qian immediately set a goal for herself, and that was to sleep with someone she couldn't afford to sleep with before she died. Winter was very warm in the minds of the busy young people. It was getting warmer and warmer day by day. Qin Rongfang listened to the servant's report about how his grandson was chasing after a lady every day, and he gloated. He could finally breathe a sigh of relief. This grandson of his had tortured him for so many years, and he had finally met his nemesis who could avenge him. How delightful. Looking at the wedding invitation from the Pei family on the table, Qin Fian thought that next year, he would be able to send his grandson red and gold wedding invitation everywhere. He was so happy that flowers were blooming everywhere. He called his family members separately and finally called Qin Fian. Fian, arrange work properly. Our family is going to G City. The Pei family is holding a wedding this time, so we have to go there early. Okay, I got it. Will you bring Fei Yu there? Of course she has to go. It's something that our adults have decided, so it's good for her to go take a look. Then I'll go pick her up from school and help her apply for leave. Okay. Qin Fian hung up the phone. After hanging up the phone, the problem he was thinking about was not how to arrange the time, but that they were going to G City, and Xia Qian was still not one of them. And what made Qin Fian even more worried was that Fei Yu was still fine after school in the afternoon, but when it was time to sleep at night, she began to hold her stomach and scream. She was in so much pain that her whole body was sweating, and her clothes were soaked through. Qin Rongfang was so anxious that he scolded everyone he saw. Fei Yu's face was covered in sweat as if she had been splashed with water. Her face was covered with hair. She curled up into a ball, holding her stomach, and her head had already touched her bent knees. Ah! It hurts. Xiao Yu, tell your brother, what did you eat today? The moment Qin Fian touched Fei Yu, she rolled to the other side of the bed. It hurts, it hurts. Fei Yu screamed, crying as she screamed. The family doctor came over. Chinese medicine doctors wanted to take her pulse, Western medicine doctors wanted to test her blood, but none of them could get close to her. Fei Yu was in so much pain that she kept twitching. Qin Fian wanted to force Fei Yu down, but at this moment, a youth rushed out from the crowd and climbed onto Fei Yu's bed. The housekeeper was about to scold him. Fengxing had already grabbed Fei Yu's hand and hugged her head. He tilted his head and pressed Fei Yu's forehead against his face. Fengxing was still panting heavily, as if he had run very quickly. He looked very nervous. Fei Yu sobbed and reached out to grab Fengxing's arm. She used a lot of strength, but she did not roll away. She just closed her eyes, her eyelashes trembling violently. She cried and said, Fengxing, it hurts, it hurts. Fengxing did not say anything. He just held Fei Yu's back and slowly touched her face. He pressed his cheek against her forehead and rubbed it gently, comforting Fei Yu's emotions. Fengxing looked up at the doctor and glanced at them, asking them to come over. Qin Fian did not know why, but he actually felt relieved. He looked at Qin Rongfang and walked over. Then he held Qin Rongfang's arm and pulled him away. Late at night, in the study, Qin Fian looked at the medical report seriously. Grandfather, I don't want you to force Xiao Yu's matter. Qin Rongfang had not recovered yet. He sat on the rocking chair and lay down. He refused to open his eyes, because once he opened them, they would be filled with heartache. She's still young. She doesn't know anything. Doesn't know anything. Grandfather, Fei Yu knows everything. She took poison to resist and doesn't want to go to G City with you. Qin Fian looked at his grandfather. His eyebrows and hair were all white. Grandfather had his own pride. Fei Yu's marriage had been forced. If he was not gay, grandfather probably would not have wanted to use Fei Yu for the marriage. But now that both the Pei and Qin families had agreed, what else could he do? Would the Qin family propose to break off the marriage? Even if the Pei family wanted to save face, they would not agree. But Fei Yu was so young. This time she said she was going to G City to see her future in-laws. She actually took poison and wanted to use the excuse that she was not feeling well to achieve her purpose of not going to G City. If they pushed too far, what would happen in the future? Qin Rongfang closed his eyes. After what happened tonight, his heart was in pain. His precious granddaughter actually took poison to resist him. If it was not because of Feng Xing, how could they end up like this? Grandpa was like an executioner, and his granddaughter was like a poor girl. How could the Qin family end up like this? His pair of withered old hands were trembling on the armrest of the chair. Fei Yan, send Feng Xing away. Send him to Jiangzhou to go to school. After a long time, he will be fine. Let Xiao Yu know that Feng Xing has a good place to stay. She will not miss him. After a long time, she will forget how Feng Xing grew up. I didn't know that leaving him at home would lead to such a result. Qin Fian had always felt that the Qin family could not be compared to other families. Now that he thought about it, they were all about the same. Between families, there was no one who did not want a strong alliance. It was all because of his selfishness and stubbornness all these years that Fei Yu was pushed into the marriage situation. Grandfather blamed him, but he never used a scolding tone to scold him. Qin Fian's heart was heavy. He came out of the study and went to Fei Yu's room. He stood at the door and looked at his sister lying there quietly with her eyes closed. One hand was on a drip and the other hand was tightly holding Feng Xing's hand. Feng Xing held a towel in his hand and carefully wiped Fei Yu's sweat. Qin Fian's heart ached. Fei Yu was only 17 years old. Would everything be fine after sending Feng Xing away? This night for the Qin family was destined to not be peaceful. The doctor kept his mouth shut and did not dare to say anything. No one dared to say that Fei Yu had taken poison and tortured herself in front of Qin Rongfang. Just as Qin Fian thought, Qin Rongfang was hit hard. He had always felt that Fei Yu was obedient and sensible. Sometimes, he even felt that he loved this granddaughter more because Fei Yu always listened to him. Whatever he said, it was what it was. And Qin Fian had always been rebellious and difficult to control. He always did not let him get what he wanted. So sometimes, Fei Yu could almost satisfy all of Qin Rongfang's vanity as the head of the family. To outsiders, he always claimed that he was a citizen and would not interfere with his children's affairs. But his son and daughter-in-law had gone abroad. It was not that he did not miss them. It was not that he did not feel sad when his daughter and son-in-law divorced. His grandchildren were all outstanding, but after all, their surnames were not Qin. When Jiang Zhao was young, he had wanted to change his surname many times, but he was always stopped by the elders of the Jiang family. It was not that he did not feel regret. He had raised his grandchildren single-handedly. What was the use of his grandson's surname? He was gay and did not want to be controlled. Only Fei Yu had been sensible since she was young. She listened to him. He had even thought of finding a man for Fei Yu. That way, his granddaughter would live under his nose for the rest of her life. He would be satisfied in this life and would not have any other thoughts. But a man who was willing to marry into the family would always feel that something was missing. How could he be worthy of his granddaughter? Fei Yu was so good. He had to find someone from a family of equal status before he would be satisfied, relieved, and feel that they were compatible. He had found a good man for his beloved granddaughter, but now he was forcing his granddaughter to take poison to resist him. Qin Rongfang fell into the rocking chair, unable to get up. 2 streams of tears flowed out of his tightly shut eyes. Qin Rongfang raised his withered arm and placed it over his eyes. His chest rose and fell as he choked out, "Fei Yu, you really hurt Grandpa's heart." Qin Fian went to the 9th mansion. Jiang Zhao let Yi Er sleep alone first and took Qin Fian to the study. He brewed coffee for Qin Fian. Jiang Zhao brewed a cup of tea for himself. The two of them sat around the tea table, facing each other. After Qin Fian finished telling him what had happened that night, the cup in Jiang Zhao's hand slipped and landed on the tea table, splashing water all over him. He asked solemnly, "Why did you only tell me about such a big thing now? The situation at the time was too unexpected. I didn't have time to rush it. I was already too busy looking for doctors. How could I have time to inform anyone?" Later, I had a deep talk with Grandpa. He said that it was so late and told me not to disturb you because sister-in-law was pregnant. Qin Fian felt that other than the bitterness of the coffee, there was no other taste. It was bitter in the past, but he always felt that it was fragrant. Jiang Zhao asked again, "How is Fei Yu's condition now?" Qin Fian's brows twitched. He frowned and complained, "Her stomach was pumped and she's out of danger. She just doesn't want to go to City G. If she doesn't want to go, then so be it. She caused such a big thing." Awesome novel, Hongcha 866. Chapter 747. Jiang Zhao was also angry. "Don't you know Fei Yu's personality? Can she tell you?" Grandpa said to send Fengxing away. Actually, I had long realized that this situation was not right. At that time, I told Grandpa to send Fengxing away to Jiangzhou. If Fei Yu was worried, I would say that I found a good school for him, so that Fei Yu would not be worried. But it has already developed to this point. Do you think sending him away now will be of any use? Grandpa said that as time passes, it will fade away. I think this is a bomb. Jiang Zhao sucked in a breath of cold air. He had never thought that Fei Yu would take poison. He was also very worried. You also know that it is a bomb. You were engaged to her when you were 15. Haven't you forgotten about it now? Fei Yu will be difficult to deal with. Then what do we do now? I don't even have the mood to chase my wife anymore. Fei Yu has never been such a bastard in her life. Qin Fian gritted his teeth and held the coffee cup. He could not smell the coffee at all. He felt that his nose was filled with the smell of medicine. When the doctor said that Fei Yu had taken poison, he was stunned. Seeing those tubes inserted into her mouth and seeing her tied up for gastric lavage, he wanted to rush up and slap her. Why couldn't they talk things out? Why did it have to be like this? She did not think that if something happened to her, what would happen to Grandpa? What would happen to him? He only had this one sister. Grandpa was already so old. Qin Fian could only scold Qin Fei Yu again and again. You bastard. It's not that she's a bastard. It's that she finally has flesh and blood, Fei Yu. Brother, what do you think we should do? Grandpa asked our family to go to G City. But with Fei Yu like this, we definitely can't go. If Fei Yu doesn't go, I don't want to go either. I have to stay at home and watch over her. How do we explain to the Pei family? Jiang Zhao thought for a moment. Why don't we bring Fei Yu to my place and separate her from Fengxing? Your sister-in-law's belly is so big now. I don't want her to go to G City. If she doesn't go, I won't go. We can take care of Fei Yu. In this way, you and Grandpa will be relieved, right? If Fei Yu could come and live here, with her brother and sister-in-law taking care of her, Qin Fian would naturally be relieved. Are you and sister-in-law really not going? Jiang Zhao nodded. I'm not going. She's prone to chest tightness now. Last night, she said that she wanted to eat egg custard, so she went to the kitchen to make egg custard. In the end, her chest tightened and she couldn't breathe properly. She almost fainted in the kitchen. At that time, I was so scared that my legs went weak. So from today onwards, I've hired Andy to work full-time, and she lives downstairs. Now that she's going on a long trip, I'm afraid that something will happen to her on the plane. So be it. She's going to give birth in a few months. I'm afraid of the slightest disturbance now. I just want to give birth to the child safely. I don't care about other things. Grandfather told me to get one of the old maids in the house to come over and take care of sister-in-law, but you refused. There's no need for that. I'm used to serving Grandpa's taste. I've changed it so many times and I still can't get used to it. It's easier for us. Your sister-in-law's mouth isn't very picky, so it's easier to get her. Alright, then I'll go back and tell Grandfather to send Feiyu over. Arrange for the old maids to come over too. Then go back early. Grandpa sleeps early. Don't disturb his rest. Qin Fian couldn't drink the coffee. He placed the cup on the tea table and stood up. He smiled bitterly. Sigh, it's fine as long as he can sleep tonight. What's the point of talking about whether he sleeps early or not? Qin Fian drove out of the 9th mansion. He was greeted by a familiar Geely second-hand car. It was so shabby. It looked like he had to buy a car for his wife. It didn't look good, but at least it had to be safer. Driving such a car, with her slow reaction speed, was really worrying. Actually, he should get her a driver. With her brain, she wasn't suited to driving. Xia Qian's car drove into the 9th mansion. Qin Fian originally wanted to go back to the Qin residence, but at this time, he hung up the phone and went back. He told Qin Rongfang about Jiang Zhao's intentions. After the two of them reached a consensus, they hung up the phone. It wasn't that he wasn't worried about his family. It was just that he didn't get to see Xia Qian often enough. He couldn't let go of this opportunity to get close to her. Qin Fian turned the car around and followed Xia Qian's car. He didn't know if she was going to Zhuang Yichen's house or his sister-in-law's house. Xia Qian parked the car and unbuckled her seatbelt. She picked up a basket from the passenger's seat cushion. It was filled with a whole basket of eggs. She opened the door and got out of the car. Jiang Zhao was just about to go to bed when the doorbell rang again. Worried that something had happened to the Qin family, he quickly went to open the door. He saw Xia Qian standing outside with a smile through the peephole. He opened the door. Before Jiang Zhao could say anything, Xia Qian said, "Jiang Zhao, is Yi Er asleep?" "Oh, Qian, come in and have a seat." Yi Er just fell asleep. Xia Qian waved her hand. No, I'm just here to deliver some eggs. My colleagues from the station went to a farmhouse in the suburbs last time. I saw that there were a lot of chickens there. The boss was feeding them grain. So I discussed with the boss to get her chickens to lay some eggs and sell them to me. No matter how expensive the eggs in High City are, they are all foraged chickens. You can give these eggs to Yi Er. Xia Qian handed the basket over. Jiang Zhao quickly took the basket. Qian, you're so thoughtful. Come in and have a seat. I'll get you a glass of water. Xia Qian scratched her head. She was a little embarrassed. I can't drink water. But, my colleagues said that I'm gullible. The eggs they gave me were probably foreign eggs bought from the market. I cracked a few eggs and found that they were all yellow, but I can't be sure if all of them are like that. I can only rely on luck. Jiang Zhao was very touched. Qian, thank you so much. What are you thanking me for? What's my relationship with Yi Er? At this moment, the elevator door dinged again. Qin Fian walked over and put his arm around Xia Qian's shoulder. Oh, loser. What are you doing here? How could Xia Qian listen to Qin Fian talk about her like that? She slapped Qin Fian's hand away. You're the loser. Jiang Zhao couldn't figure out what Qin Fian was up to, but he was also afraid that he would hinder his younger brother's plan to woo his wife. So, he didn't say anything and just carried the eggs into the house. Qin Fian saw this and put his arm around Xia Qian's shoulder again. Loser, since we've bumped into each other, why don't we go in and have a cup of tea? He paused and added, You're not afraid of losing to me again, are you? I knew that you're not as strong as me. Ha, how could I dare say that you're not a loser? Let's drink then. Who's afraid of who? As soon as they entered the house, they didn't drink any tea. Qin Fian instigated Jiang Zhao to take out the wine in the house and compete with Xia Qian in drinking. Jiang Zhao knew that Xia Qian had been tricked, but he didn't say anything. Although Xia Qian was his wife's best friend, Qin Fian was his younger brother. It was the truth to help one's family over reason. Jiang Zhao knew that it was easy to get drunk when mixed with wine. So, he took out red, white, and yellow wine. He was a little afraid that the noise downstairs would disturb Yi Er, so he deliberately asked them to be quiet. He then ran upstairs to take a look. His wife was sleeping like a pig. When Jiang Zhao came downstairs, Xia Qian was waiting for him. The three of them were competing in drinking. It was not easy for Xia Qian to discover Qin Fian's scheme. So, the drinking competition ended up with two men shamelessly forcing a woman to drink. Qin Fian only drank red wine, and he liked to drink it. Jiang Zhao had no problem drinking white wine. In his social circle, many people drank white wine. His tolerance for white wine was better than red wine. But this way, when Xia Qian drank with Jiang Zhao, she had to drink white wine. When she drank with Qin Fian, she had to drink red wine. The wine bottles were emptied one by one. Xia Qian was so drunk that she didn't wake up. Jiang Zhao bowed to Xia Qian's corpse. Xia Qian, don't blame me. I didn't mean it. Qin Fian looked at Xia Qian's corpse and smiled. Brother, you did mean it. Jiang Zhao rolled his eyes at Qin Fian. You're not doing your job. After that, he turned to go upstairs. I'm going upstairs to sleep. No one came today. He went upstairs and looked at Xia Qian. When Qin Fian bent down to pick up Xia Qian, Jiang Zhao shook his head helplessly and said sympathetically, Qian, I'm sorry for the basket of eggs you gave Yi Er. I feel guilty. Then, he put away his sad expression and went upstairs as if nothing had happened. When he returned to his room, he quickly brushed his teeth and rinsed his mouth. He was afraid that his wife would dislike him for smelling too much alcohol. After throwing the drunk Xia Qian into the car, Qin Fian was exhausted. Qin Fian drove very slowly. He was afraid that the woman in the back seat would be thrown out. Qin Fian hummed a tune as he drove. The most comfortable life was to take his wife to a hotel. That's right, he was going to get a room. But Qin Fian wasn't a jerk. He wouldn't force a woman. He just wanted to create the illusion that they had slept together. On the large bed with white sheets, Qin Fian put Xia Qian on the bed and took off her clothes one by one. When she was only left with her underwear, Qin Fian, who originally didn't think he was a jerk, couldn't stay calm. Why did he look at Xia Qian now? Why did she look so pleasing to the eye? He lowered his head to look at her eyelids. They had really been done. The line was not like a normal double eyelid. It wasn't a crease mark, but a scar. This was the legendary plastic surgery. Plastic surgery was pretty good. When she opened her eyes, they were big. Her nose was also pretty good. Although it wasn't very tall, it was as tall as Xiaoya's nose. It looked a little too strong. He didn't like seductive women like that. Someone like Xia Qian was better. Soft and tender. Sigh, she looked pleasing to the eye no matter how he looked at her. Why did her breasts have to be so big? They were from Still Strike. She wasn't a cow. Sigh, she looked pleasing to the eye no matter how he looked at her. She was so pleasing to the eye that his eyes were spitting fire. He felt a little flustered and wanted to kiss her. In the end, Xia Qian was completely naked. Qin Fian started to take off his own clothes again. After he was done, he pulled the blanket over and hugged her. He laughed mischievously in his heart. Xia Qian, tomorrow morning, you can't deny it even if you want to. Anyway, I'll insist that we slept together. Let's see what you can do. He was still laughing mischievously in his heart. The next second, he realized that something was wrong. He realized that he really wanted to poke her. Add. Songshu 566. Chapter 748. It was very swollen down there. When he thought about how her hands had played with his body until it was as swollen as it was now, he blushed and buried his head in her chest. It was only when he buried his head that he realized that the thing in her chest was not buried casually. The moment he buried it, he felt even more uncomfortable. The naked man and woman hugged each other. Time passed like ants crawling on the ground. Qin Fian thought, God, when will the sun rise? The woman in his arms started to get annoyed. She started to push and kick up a fuss. Qin Fian was hit by Xia Qian a few times. When she opened her eyes and saw Qin Fian, she froze for a moment and burped. She looked like she couldn't open her eyes and was trying her best to do so. Are you drunk? Loser. Qin Fian was shocked and said again, You're the loser. Why? Are you afraid that I'll kiss you? Xia Qian narrowed her eyes. She was only paying attention to the position of Qin Fian's eyes. She didn't even see the lust in his eyes. Afraid? I, Xia Qian, don't know how to spell the word afraid. With that, she grabbed Qin Fian's head and kissed him. Qin Fian saw the situation and deliberately resisted. Xia Qian, you boorish woman. Stay away from me. I won't. Xia Qian was so drunk that she flipped over and pinned Qin Fian down. The more Qin Fian turned his head to avoid Xia Qian's lips, the more Xia Qian wanted to kiss him. The louder Qin Fian made a fuss, the more excited Xia Qian was. She thought that he was a loser and slapped Qin Fian's face. Stop shouting. If you shout again, I'll sleep with you. Qin Fian's face was red and his heart was beating fast. His lower body was like a piece of iron that had just been poured out of a furnace. It was hard and hot. With red eyes, he said weakly, How dare you? If you dare to touch me, I'll kill you. But later, Qin Fian was disappointed to find that Xia Qian only wanted to scare him. Even if she was drunk, it was the same. She was just scaring him. So, he hugged her waist and turned around. Using his self-taught skills, he kissed her lips, rubbed her chest, and spread her legs. While doing something worse than a beast, he used an extremely aggrieved voice to berate Xia Qian for being a hooligan and trying to molest him. Xia Qian was very dizzy. She only knew that she had to fight with Qin Fian. She thought that she had to beat him up. Hearing him dodge, complain, she felt very comfortable in her heart. Listen, he is fighting again. Xia Qian, how? Do you believe that I'll tear you apart? Suddenly, Xia Qian's consciousness came back from Qin Fian's voice. She felt as if a knife had pierced into her lower body. The pain came from her lower body, as if a powerful force was spreading and rushing to her throat. Ah! Qin Fian was also stunned. He didn't dare to move. He was so nervous that his whole body was red and sweating. But at this time, his instincts told him that he couldn't go out. He pressed his body down. He couldn't let Xia Qian move. He couldn't let her retreat. Since it was already like this, he had to make her his. Qin Fian. What did you do to me? It hurts. Qin Fian didn't dare to say sorry. He could only bite the bullet and scold, Xia Qian. What did you do to me? It hurts. You hooligan. After saying this, he realized that he was on top and she was below. So he hugged her waist, turned around, and put her on top of him again. But he still held the woman's hips tightly, not allowing her to escape. Qin Fian grabbed Xia Qian's shoulders and pulled her down to press her down on top of him. He then put his lips on hers and shouted, Xia Qian, you hooligan. You actually kissed me. Men were like kissing in bed. They had super high awareness and knew how to move. But a virgin for the first time couldn't bear the pain. He thought that he could be very strong and never fall. In the end, while Xia Qian was screaming in pain, Qin Fian surrendered very quickly. Qin Fian was a man who had never slept with a woman or been in a relationship. If he were to be taught how to love a woman in bed, he definitely wouldn't know. He was annoyed that he was so fast. Why didn't he last a little longer? But more importantly, Qin Fian finally thought that Xia Qian belonged to him. Xia Qian was a little awake, but her thoughts were tangled up by Qin Fian, who had a bitter and vengeful expression on his face. Qin Fian wrapped himself in the blanket, revealing his pitiful but charming phoenix eyes. He complained in a tearful voice, Xia Qian, you're not human. How dare you do such a thing to me? How am I supposed to face people in the future? Xia Qian was about to explain when she realized that she was tongue-tied. She was so anxious that she couldn't speak for a long time. She was still naked, but this man was wrapped up tightly. Did she rape him? But she was the one who was bleeding, okay? That's not right, Qin Fian, it's clearly what? Clearly what? What else do you want? What else do you want to do to me? No. Look at me like that. Qin Fian was very beautiful, comparable to a woman. At this moment, his sorrowful look was pitiful. Xia Qian hugged a pillow which happened to cover her naked body. She was still not fully awake and had a terrible headache. Qin Fian's howling made her head hurt even more, as if there was a tumor growing in her brain. She was very angry and annoyed. What are you howling for? It's my first time. Qin Fian argued, what's so great about your first time? It's my first time too. I'm almost 26 years old and still a virgin. Do you think it's easy for me? You actually raped me. Qin Fian did not give Xia Qian a chance to think. He lifted the quilt, pulled Xia Qian into his quilt, and hugged her. His two legs tightly wrapped around her legs, and he snorted. Let me tell you, Xia Qian, I'm going to sue you for molesting me tomorrow. You have to compensate me for my psychological damage. I have to prevent you from running away. Let me tell you, this money, don't even think about not paying. Do you think I, Qin Fian, am so easy to bully? Try running away for fear of punishment. How much money do you want? Xia Qian was really uncomfortable with Qin Fian's howling. It was as if she had done something immoral. A man's first time was actually worth more than hers. Damn, what's so great about being a virgin? We'll talk about it tomorrow morning. Either we settle or we go to court. My heart is very hurt now. I'm very sleepy. I'm going to sleep for a while. You're not allowed to run away. Don't even think about denying the money. Are you transformed from a bird? Chirp, chirp. Damn it, you're so annoying. Xia Qian scolded and closed her eyes to sleep. Qin Qin Fian heard Xia Qian's breathing and knew that she was still drunk. That was why it was so easy to deal with. But what if she woke up tomorrow morning? But what did the radio program say? Kiss. Don't ask. At most, he would be slapped twice. If he didn't kiss her, he would miss the opportunity. He had already done it. He couldn't regret it. Now that he was hugging Xia Qian like this, and he was a young man who had just experienced love for the first time, this feeling could only be understood but not described. He released too quickly just now. He was a little embarrassed, but he was confident that he could do it well the second time. Xia Qian's cry of pain just now made him feel conflicted. How could he make her not feel pain? If she woke up faster each time, it would be difficult for him to cover it up. So he took advantage of the opportunity. After Xia Qian fell asleep, he got out of bed quietly and searched for his phone. He began to search for information on the internet. The internet was a good thing. You could find anything you wanted. With one search, all kinds of strange things would come out. Qin Fian got on the bed again. He began to kiss Xia Qian slowly and patiently. He suppressed his impulse and didn't allow himself to be impatient. There were still burns on Xia Qian's back. Qin Fian touched there and his heart ached. This time, he kissed Xia Qian, who was drunk like a dead pig and moaned from time to time, while he slowly pushed himself into her body. Xia Qian kept feeling that her body was very swollen. She wanted to squeeze that thing out of her body, but she just wanted to suck it into her body. It was very torturous. It was like a dream. She was jolted awake. When she found that she was on top of Qin Fian again, she felt that she was going crazy. She actually had Qin Fian on top of her again. Qin Fian looked at the woman lying on his chest. When she propped herself up, he knew that things weren't going well. When he was slow, she was always dizzy. Sometimes she would moan a few times. After thinking about it, he felt that it should be fine. However, he was afraid that she would wake up and see him on top of her. So, he simply flipped her over like before and placed her on top of him. He just wanted to give it a try quickly. After a few jolts, she woke up. This time, Qin Fian didn't stop. He shouted, "Xia Qian! You're really going too far. If I don't teach you a lesson, you'll think that I'm easy to bully, right? Why are you always on top of me?" Xia Qian was stunned by his shout. Her body had already flipped over and was pressed down by Qin Fian. Then, she was hit. "Hey! I didn't do it on purpose. Why are you so hard?" Qin Fian was a little embarrassed. "Oh, then I'll be gentler." For the entire night, Qin Fian used revenge as an excuse and took Xia Qian apart again and again. He felt that this way, his first night was worth it. He could finally enjoy the beauty of being a man. It was really different. The next morning, Qin Fian didn't dare to sleep for too long. There were still a lot of things to deal with at home. However, he also had to deal with Xia Qian's matter. Especially after what happened last night, this matter couldn't be delayed. Seeing that she was exhausted, Qin Fian carefully got out of bed. He took a shower under the shower. What happened last night still felt like a dream. He felt that last night was like a night of sex. Qin Fian's skin was fair. After the hot shower, there was a layer of pink on his skin. He raised his head and let the water wash over his skin. He had to be 120% alert. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him to get through today. Now, he was a little thankful that Xia Qian would act like an idiot from time to time. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so easily fooled. What a headache. It was too scary for a woman like her to go out to work. No wonder she didn't get into university. Even if she did, her teacher wouldn't recommend her to an internship. She was really unlucky. In the future, he would be the one to end her miserable life. Qin Fian wiped the water off his body, wrapped a bath towel around his waist, and filled the bathtub with water. He carried Xia Qian from the bed and wanted to put her in the bathtub. Xia Qian was still sleeping soundly. She was startled by the water and continued to sleep. Qin Fian poured water on her and called her, Qian Qian, Qian Qian. Xia Qian was in a daze. She felt really comfortable at this moment. What? After you finish bathing. Let's go get the marriage certificate. I have something to do this afternoon. It can't be delayed. Ha! Xia Qian shivered and shook her head to wake up. God, why was Qin Fian here? Why was Qin Fian bathing her? He was bathing her naked. She wanted to stand up, but found that there was nothing to cover her. She immediately wrapped her arms around her chest. He was still shirtless. Shameless. Come and see, Hongcha 866. Chapter 749. What did this guy say? Marriage certificate. Was his brain kicked by a donkey? He slapped away Qin Fian's hand that was rubbing against his shoulder. The water splashed all over Qin Fian, but he was not angry. He repeated, I said, let's go get the marriage certificate. Why? Qin Fian pouted pitifully and complained, you slept with me last night. Shouldn't we go get the marriage certificate? Xia Qian swallowed. What marriage? She slept with him. She thought for a long time. But didn't he say that she couldn't afford to sleep with him? Didn't you ask for money? How much money do you have? How much are you worth? If it's not enough, I'll borrow from my sister. Marry? Even if she wanted to find a boyfriend, she couldn't marry Qin Fian, right? Can you afford to pay me back in the future? Xia Qianqi asked guiltily, how much? 1 billion. Can you afford it? If you can't, then marry me. Qin Fian raised his eyebrows and said. He thought to himself, a lion has to ask for a lot. If I don't ask, can I still be a lion? Qin Fian. You bastard. Why are you so expensive? Xia Qian was confused. She was confused 10,000 times. God, this is too much. F***ck, I really can't afford to sleep with him. Qin Fian, I want to put it on credit. Qin Fian choked. He looked at the girl whose face was steaming from the hot water. She looked serious. Put it on credit. What did she mean? Xia Qian was very anxious. Such an expensive man. God, she never thought that she would sleep with a man with such a high price. There was such a person. She wanted to get married if he didn't pay. Other than looking good and having a good figure, Qin Fian didn't fit her description of a future partner at all. Although she was a little stupid, when it came to marriage, she should at least find a reliable man, right? She couldn't see through other people's personalities, but she should be able to tell if they were reliable or not, right? Qin Fian was not a reliable person at all. If she had those unparalleled martial arts skills and wuxia novels, she would definitely get rid of evil for the people and bring peace to the people. Xia Qian didn't think that she would be able to walk out of the shadow of losing her virginity so quickly. She was convinced. Could it be that sleeping with a good-looking virgin could make her feel better? She slapped herself in her heart, but it was useless. What she cared about the most now was the billion, not her life. She thought for a moment. Why did Qin Fian quote such a high price? She tilted her head and asked, Qin Fian, this is my first time too. Why do I have to pay you back? I can also be worth 1.5 billion. Qin Fian smiled. He stood up and squeezed some shampoo from the wall dispenser. He squatted down and mixed some water, then applied it on Xia Qian's head and washed her hair. Qian, you can't quote a sky-high price for this money. Why does a person have to have a status? It's so that they can estimate the value when they suffer a loss. He mixed some water again and brushed the corners of her hair to the top of her head, creating a large ball of bubbles. Qin Fian squatted outside the bathtub with a towel wrapped around his waist, as if he had washed someone's hair countless times. At that time, he was 15 years old and lived in her house. Many girls liked to run to her house because they saw that he was pretty and wanted to get close to him. Every time she wanted to show everyone that he was hers, she would bring a basin of water to the dam outside the courtyard and sit on a small stool to let him wash her hair. He would even dry clean it, just like the hairdressers in the city. Children in the countryside didn't wash their hair every day. Not only did she wash it every day, sometimes twice a day. Now that she was in the bubbles, the shampoo had changed, but the texture of her hair didn't seem to have changed. Her hair was thin, not thick, and not black. Qin Fian sighed. He felt that Xia Qian wasn't the kind of person who liked to be sad, so the corners of his mouth twitched again. He said leisurely, Qian, think about it. If the two of us went out at the same time and got scratched by a car, how much would you ask them to pay? Think about it. How much would I ask them to pay? Scratched? Scratched by a car. Not a bicycle. Yes, a car. Qin Fian saw that Xia Qian was enjoying him washing her hair. Seeing that she was serious, he sat on the edge of the bathtub and sat behind her. This way, he could brush all the hair and bubbles back. Let's talk about a car. Let's estimate it at 1 million. Xia Qian wanted to talk to Qin Fian, but he was already behind her. But this was good. She watered herself and bathed. Such an expensive car. No matter what, I have to ask him to pay 5 or 10,000 yuan. I can't let him get away with it. I have to buy some tonics to nourish my body. What's wrong with scratching the skin? Even scratching the skin is still flesh and blood, right? After Xia Qian finished speaking, she pretended to frown and clenched her fists. Qin Fian clasped his hands together and brushed his hair back along his hairline, creating a big bunch of bubbles. He then stood up and threw the bubbles into the toilet bowl. Yes, even scratching the skin is still flesh and blood. But if I were to be scratched by a car like this, I would ask him to pay me 1 million yuan. Xia Qian trembled and spat. 1 million yuan. Qin Fian, are you shameless? It's just a scratch. 1 million yuan is considered a small amount. If I were to be scratched, I would have to go to the hospital to clean up the wound, delay my time, delay a contract, and possibly lose hundreds of millions. 1 million yuan is considered letting him off easy. If he angers me, I will think of ways to make his career go down the drain. So, my value is different. You calculate this multiple. If you are worth 1. I'm just worried that your sister-in-law will get heaty. The housekeeper can't even make herbal tea for her every day. I'm afraid it's not good for the baby. If you like it, I'll buy some tomorrow when I come back from work. Fei Yu was a bit scared. Sister-in-law actually got so heaty. Tomorrow, she would never do something like this again. No matter what, she had to keep a close eye on sister-in-law. This greedy cat. So on the second day after Fei Yu moved into the 9th mansion, she was no longer under anyone's care. She began to take care of Yi Er. Yi Er said that pregnant women were most afraid of spraining their waists and cramping their legs. She said a lot of things to pay attention to. Fei Yu remembered them all. When she saw Yi Er holding some snacks in her hands, she would snatch them and eat them herself. When she saw her bare feet hanging outside, she would help her put on socks. After Fei Yu came, Yi Er kept forgetting things. Her memory was deteriorating, and her self-control was deteriorating. Fei Yu's nerves were on the verge of collapsing. She put all her energy into taking care of Yi Er's every move. When they were in bed, Yi Er told Jiang Zhao about her good intentions. The little girl can't be idle at this time. She has to have something to do. Let her lie in bed and recuperate. The more she recuperates, the quieter she becomes. The quieter she is, the easier it is for something to happen. If I let her have a string in her heart, she won't have time to think about her own matters, right? If she doesn't have time to think, she won't be depressed and unhappy all day. If she can't figure it out, she has to think about the pregnant woman at home. Fei Yu, this child, is still very responsible. She just can't bear to see me pitiful. She is too compassionate. That Feng Sheng was born out of her love and care. She is used to taking care of others. The more she gives, the more feelings she has. Isn't that right? Wifey, you're so smart. Jiang Zhao kissed Yi Er's forehead fiercely. Feng Sheng is fine. Wait for Grandpa to come back and deal with it. Fei Yu is still young after all. I think so too. Fei Yu is still okay. She's only 16 or 17 years old. What does she know about feelings? When I was 16 or 17 years old, I didn't know anything. Jiang Zhao frowned. That's right. How could he forget that his wife was also a little girl? She wasn't even 20 years old when she was with him. She was still young. He asked a little jealously, then did you know when you were 18 or 19 years old? Yi Er looked into Jiang Zhao's eyes. She saw that his expression was a little unnatural. The corners of her mouth opened and she chuckled. I understood when I was 19 years old. Jiang Zhao hugged Yi Er before. 19 years old. She knew him when she was 19 years old. Really? Yeah, I only understood after I met you. Yi Er smiled until her face was rotten. She snuggled into Jiang Zhao's arms to ask for a reward. Very obedient. Hubby, be good. Is there a reward? Yi Er's hand reached into Jiang Zhao's clothes. Not too often. Tomorrow. How about tomorrow? Be gentle. It's okay. Yi Er acted coquettishly and shamelessly tugged at Jiang Zhao's pajamas. Come and see, Songshu 566. Chapter 750. Xia Qian received a piece of news that made her very excited. She could host a show. She had waited for so long, and now she could officially host a show in front of the camera. She felt that she should do her best to welcome her new job. This was an opportunity, and also an opportunity. But when the head of the department gave her the program list, Xia Qian was depressed. Why was she, a young woman who had just lost her virginity, asked to host a late-night talk show? Moreover, it was a talk show about heterosexual topics. The topics discussed were all kinds of heterosexual topics. Xia Qian was depressed. Xia Qian found the bald department head. She held the program list in her hand and stammered, not knowing what to say. She scratched the back of the department head's desk with her fingernails for a long time before saying, Department Head Zhang, do you think it's possible for me to swap with another colleague for this show? Department Head Zhang, whose eyes were still a little swollen, raised his head. He looked like he was in low spirits after too much indulgence. When he looked at Xia Qian, he smiled and said, Swap. Yes, with my qualifications, I'm afraid it won't be very convincing for me to host this kind of show. Xia Qian thought, why couldn't she host something? She had just lost her virginity in a daze, and she still owed a huge debt after losing her virginity. Wasn't it too difficult for her to talk about sex with the audience? What's wrong with your qualifications? Xia Qian was still a little afraid of the department head. After all, it was rare for her to be valued by the department head. She could just swap with another colleague, and the department wouldn't lose anything. I think it's more suitable for this kind of show to host an emotional show. Why don't you continue to do odd jobs? Department head Zhang said coldly and stood up. If you don't want to host, I'll go and ask which interns are willing to host. This program has a high viewership rating in our station, and several hosts became famous because of this program. When Xia Qian heard that she would do odd jobs, she immediately extinguished the fire. Okay. I'll host. The reason why this show was so popular even when it was broadcast at 12:30 p.m. was because the topics discussed were very broad. Menstruation, leukorrhea, orgasm, erection, impotence, one-night stands. Sex equals hunger, affairs, third party, etc. They talked about all the topics about the right and wrong views of the world. The female host's style of dress required a short skirt. Even if she wore a high-collared top, she had to wear a short skirt or hot pants. Once, there was a female host who wore a sexy high-waisted dress that exposed her navel and chest. She was on the front page of the newspaper the next day and became famous overnight. Xia Qian actually didn't feel that there was anything that couldn't be talked about. When they were in the university dormitory, there was nothing that girls didn't dare to talk about when they were together. Whether it was men, women, women, or their positions, there was nothing that they hadn't studied before. But in front of the camera, he felt a little embarrassed. After all, he didn't have much experience. Xia Qian put on her makeup and changed her clothes. She didn't even dare to look at herself in the mirror. The TV station had prepared a short denim skirt that exposed her midriff. They said that at her age, she would look sexy in such a dress. Qin Fian's daily call came. Qian, what are you doing? Xia Qian felt that Qin Fian was her creditor now, so she had to be a little more polite to him. After all, every time she wanted to hang up on him, he would say that it was a creditor's call. So expensive. As soon as she saw Qin Fian's call flash, Xia Qian saw a screen full of money. She could only think of one word: so expensive. Why did she sleep with such an expensive man? So expensive that she couldn't afford to sleep with other men for the rest of her life. The most tragic thing was that before you could taste anything, he would tell you to pay up. You've already eaten everything. How wronged. I'm preparing to go on the show, Xia Qian answered perfunctorily. She sat on the stool and looked at the A4 paper in her hand. Some of the content for the show was written on it. Today's topic was, have we now entered the era of love and sexual independence? Xia Qian frowned. She didn't know what love was, but this topic was too profound. You're going on the show? Qin Fian was originally lying on the bed reading a magazine. At this moment, he was so happy that he turned around and crossed his legs. So fast. Originally, he wanted to arrange for her to be a host when he got back. He didn't expect that she would already be on the show with her own efforts. That was amazing. His wife was really capable. Her brain was still as smart as before. Qin Fian was very satisfied with his taste. I can't go on the show. Xia Qian, who had been a little annoyed, suddenly felt uncomfortable when she heard Qin Fian's rhetorical question. What was wrong? Everyone was looking down on her, right? When they heard that she was on the show, they had such a big reaction. They didn't believe her. Was she that bad? Why would she be surprised when she was on the show? What? I'm just happy for you. You can finally go on the show. I'm just praising you. What do you mean I can finally go on the show? You're obviously looking down on me. Eh. How am I looking down on you? I'm obviously happy for you. Qin Fian felt wronged. How did this become looking down on her? Who wants you to be happy for me? It's expected that I'll be on the show. There's nothing to be happy about. Okay. Our Qian is not surprised by honor or disgrace. I didn't say anything just now. When Qin Fian was 15 years old, he had been enslaved by Bing Dan. So he was used to being ordered around by Bing Dan. Bing Dan used to ask him to flatter her. Even when the cat at home caught a mouse, he had to say that it was her ability because she fed the cat well. So when Xia Qian was a little fierce now, Qin Fian would immediately give in to the girl who raised her head but felt inferior, just like before. I'm not talking to you anymore. You're so annoying. Qian, what show are you hosting? Well, I'm so busy right now. I'll tell you when I'm done recording. Xia Qian took the opportunity to hang up the phone. Damn it, she was not going to tell him what show she was hosting. But Qin Fian was not willing to let her know. He hung up the phone. He had nothing to do in G City, so he had a video conference in the morning. Jiang Zhao did not come. Shen Kai was afraid that Shen Xian would feel burdened, so he stayed by her side all day. Grandpa and old Master Pei talked about a lot of things all day long. They talked about calligraphy, Buddhism, and other things that he was not interested in at all. Since he had nothing to do, he might as well find his wife's show and see her style of hosting. Qin Fian called his secretary and asked her to check Xia Qian's show on Channel 3. Xia Qian's body stiffened. She bent over and tugged at her skirt. She wanted to pull up the straps to cover her belly button, but her breasts were exposed. She really wanted to give herself she wrapped herself in a blanket and went on stage. The high stool was really a stool that could make a woman's legs look sexy and slender. Especially according to the design suggestion, when the high heels touched the floor, her legs looked more than 10 centimeters longer. Xia Qian was not used to wearing high heels on the floor. The first time she wore high heels in her life was at Yi Er's wedding. Dear audience, we meet again at midnight. Today, we are discussing, have we entered the era of love and sexual independence? This is the new generation of show hosts, Xia Qian. There was a round of polite applause. There were 2 men and 2 women. The 4 high stools formed a semicircle. After the main host introduced the other 3 hosts, they quickly went into the topic of today's show. Qin Fian heard his secretary report that the show hosted by Xia Qian was called The Era of Sex. When he heard that, he was stunned. What show is this? The beautiful secretary laughed. Boss, don't you know? This is the most popular sex show at 12:30 in High City. It specializes in borderline sex topics. Qin Fian's mouth twitched. He repeated, sex topics. Yes, it's about the things between men and women. Of course, there were also discussions about men and women. However, it was mainly a show about men and women. In order to attract attention, the hosts were very little. Both men and women dress very sexily, so this is the reason for the high ratings. If Qin Fian still said that he understood after the secretary explained it like this, he must have been infected by Xia Qian. He asked so many times to confirm it. She was actually hosting such a show. She was going to be the daughter-in-law of the Qin family in the future. How could she host such a show without caring about her image? Xia Qian, the young people of this generation, especially young people like you, have just graduated from university and stepped into society. How do you differentiate between love and sex? Xia Qian was stunned. She thought that this host was too unkind. The program list he gave her didn't have this question, but now he was asking her a question that wasn't on the program list. Was he crazy? But the tape was spinning. The director raised a sign at Xia Qian that said, "Breaking news. Fight for position." Xia Qian sighed in her heart. Damn, being a host was really not a job for humans. She smiled generously. I don't think there's a need to differentiate. When it comes to sex, the first thing that comes to everyone's mind is to do it in bed. Xia Qian choked and tightened her grip on the microphone. Make love. There's the word love in it. Is there a need to differentiate? So you're saying that people of your generation think that love and sex are inseparable? Xia Qian broke out in a cold sweat for herself. I think that men who can be separated are ducks, and women who can be separated are chickens. Because they treat sex as work, they don't need love. What they need is money. The director gave Xia Qian a thumbs up and raised a sign. Choose something more casual. You must choose something more casual. You can't be traditional. Then what if you and your partner's sex life is not harmonious? Xia Qian was going crazy. She was a young woman who had just lost her virginity, and now someone was asking her what she should do if her sex life was not harmonious. She looked at the director who was raising a sign at her and kept slapping it. She braced herself and said, "When men are in bed, when the lights are off, aren't they all different? What's there to be harmonious? If it's not harmonious, then get rid of it and change." Qin Fian grabbed the phone and felt all the hair on his body stand on end. He shouted angrily at his secretary, "Immediately! Immediately! Stop this show! Get the judicial department involved. This kind of show is not legal at all." Ad Songshu 566. Chapter 751. The beautiful secretary was confused by Qin Fian's scolding. "But boss, now, don't I know it's night time now? I don't know if the judicial department is off work now. What do I need a secretary for?" Qin Fian hung up the phone. He was so angry that his head was about to explode. The beautiful secretary had never been scolded by Qin Fian before. This was the first time. What did women say? Usually, even if Qin Fian wanted to punish people, he would use his devilish smile to confuse the audience. He would give you a gentle stab so that you wouldn't feel the pain. But the stab would have already cut off your bonus, removed your year-end bonus, dug out your annual leave, and so on. But this time, he scolded her so fiercely that she couldn't come back to her senses. The beautiful secretary thought for a moment and quickly started to think of a way. She made a call immediately. Qin Fian started to pack his ID card and check his wallet. He called Qin Rongfang. "Grandpa, I won't play with you here anymore. I have to go back to Haiqing." "Why are you going back so early? Haven't you arranged everything? Didn't you say that you were going on vacation when you came out?" "Grandpa, how can I be in the mood to play? I'll tell you in detail when I get back." Qin Fian didn't care about his reputation, but he was very concerned that Xia Qian would become the talk of others. How could it be the same? He was a man. At most, others would laugh at him for being gay, that was all. But Xia Qian was different. She was a girl and wasn't married yet. How important was her reputation? People would say that it was fine for her to host the show. But people would say that her skirt was short, her skin was exposed, and she had seen countless men. What did that look like? What did she say? That she could throw a man on the bed? Qin Fian couldn't help but curse in his heart. He didn't live in the Pei family's mansion and always felt that it was very reserved to live in someone else's house. This was good too. It saved him a lot of unnecessary formalities. He just had to make a call and be polite. He put his coat on his wrist, picked up his suitcase, and left the room. His long legs strode out, heavy and fast. Xia Qian's program was suspended halfway through. The program crew panicked. How could a good program be suspended halfway? The sponsors of this show were paying a lot of money for their advertisements because of the high viewership ratings. What should they do now? The beautiful secretary didn't care too much. She called for him immediately. The only thing she could think of was the background of the Qin family. She didn't dare to look for Jiang Zhao, but she had Jiang Zhao's contact number. In the end, after she repeated Qin Fian's words, Jiang Zhao quickly used his connections to stop the show. Xia Qian got off to a bad start. In the beginning, she was still wondering why she had to host such a lousy show. But now, she began to doubt her life. Every almanac in her life had the words "everything is unfavorable" written on it. Since he couldn't find a job, he had to ask Jiang Zhao for help. It was not easy for him to start his internship, but he could not come into contact with any substantial hosting work every day. It was not easy to get an exterior master, but it was ruined by Qin Fian's drowning incident. Since then, she began her long career of doing odd jobs. Doing odd jobs could have been more mundane, but intentionally or unintentionally, she offended many colleagues. It was not easy for the minister to see her hard-working nature and give her a lousy show host. Now, her lousy show was ruined. This was because of her work. Her life and studies were not smooth sailing. Her grades were not good, and the teachers did not like her. She could not get into university, and her sister helped her. She failed many subjects, and her sister finally found someone to help her. She went to a nightclub to pick up a duck, and her sister and Yi Er's man ruined it. She attended Yi Er's wedding, and wanted to take back the bridesmaid's dress to make a formal dress, but Qin Fian tore it. She took revenge on Qin Fian, and he smeared chili all over her body. Now, she felt her whole body burning when she saw chili. She did not dare to eat chili anymore. After drinking, she slept with Qin Fian. It was fine if they slept together, but who knew that they would end up in a lot of debt? Xia Qian thought desperately, when has my life been smooth sailing? It seemed like it had never been smooth sailing. Xia Qian wanted to drink at a small bar. At this time, the bar was about to close. She bought some alcohol, returned to her small house, and started drinking by herself. Xia Qian felt that she was useless. She had never done anything by herself. If it were not for her sister, she reckoned that if she were to wash dishes for others, they would not want her because she broke the cutlery easily. The house was given to her by her sister. At that time, her sister wanted to give her a big one, but she did not want it. In the end, she could only compromise and get a small one-bedroom apartment of less than 40 square meters. Actually, deep down, she still wanted to buy a house with her own ability. But now she realized that this was just a luxurious dream. Not only was her IQ not high, even her EQ was not high. Thinking about this made her feel very depressed. Xia Qian was very drunk. She took the remote control and used it as a microphone. Facing the television, she said very seriously, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are now broadcasting the first piece of news. Today, at 12:30 a.m., a show was suddenly stopped. Everyone is speculating about the reason for the sudden stop. There are different opinions. According to sources who know the truth, it was because a new host called Xia Qian joined the show, causing the show's feng shui to change drastically. Because of the magnetic field, Xia Qian's birth characters were not right, so the show was stopped. Someone knocked on the door. When Xia Qian heard someone knocking on the door, she went to open it. When she opened the door, she was scolded by the man who rushed in. "You opened the door without asking who it was. What if it was a bad guy?" "Ha! Bad guy? Is there anyone worse than Qin Fian in this world?" Xia Qian rolled her eyes at Qin Fian. It was not like she had not seen him through the peephole. The drunk Xia Qian was very brave. She was not afraid of Qin Fian. Ah! Qin Fian placed her suitcase at the door and closed it. He was exhausted. Fortunately, it was easy to find her place. Her house was really small. Zhuang Yichen was really stingy. He lived in the 9th mansion and bought a large duplex in Qingfeng Garden for his woman. He gave his sister-in-law a bird's nest. He had to buy her a bigger house tomorrow, or else it would be too shabby. Smelling the smell of alcohol in the house, Qin Fian took off the scarf around his neck. Seeing that there was nowhere else to hang it, he casually placed it on the back of the chair at the dining table. He took off his jacket and put it on. He wanted to ask about the show, but when he saw Xia Qian's gloomy face, he held back. Why did you drink? To celebrate the sad life of Xia Qian, who had everything going wrong. How are you sad? Aren't you sad? It's not easy to go on a show, but it was stopped. Oh, I was the one who stopped it. Qin Fian went to the water dispenser to get some water. He was so thirsty that he did not stop drinking. What? Qin Fian bent over, holding a disposable cup. He was just about to fill it with water, but he did not like disposable cups at all. The water dispenser was placed on the small coffee table. On top of it was a pink porcelain cup with a big belly. It was very cute. There was also a long stainless steel spoon in it. He pointed at the cup and asked Xia Qian, "Your cup?" "Yes, mine." Xia Qian had already stood up. She was a little drunk and swayed. She asked in surprise, "You said you stopped it?" "Yes, I stopped it." Qin Fian picked up the cup and started to pour water. He drank from her cup. He did not want to drink from a disposable cup. It would make him look like a guest. In the past, when they were in Starfield Town, there would always be some meat left in her bowl. In the end, she would always ask him to finish it for her. During that time when they were locked in the cellar, they had not seen oily meat for a long time. They always felt that they could not get enough meat. They felt that there was nothing more delicious than meat. However, after they left Starfield Town, the taste of meat had completely changed. Qin Fian was still reminiscing about the past. He had just swallowed 2 mouthfuls of water when his head was suddenly hit hard by a woman. It was the remote control in Xia Qian's hand. Chapter 752. Xia Qian tilted her head to avoid Qin Fian's mouth and spat, "What a good man, my ass. Can a good man be gay? Didn't I already prove to you that I'm not gay?" Qin Fian was implying something and lowered his head to kiss her again. Xia Qian moved her body to hit him. "Get lost." Qin Fian shrugged and let the woman's small fists loosen his muscles and bones. "Get lost where? Get lost where you came from. A virgin was eaten up by you just like that." Xia Qian was angry. "Nonsense." Qin Fian laughed, "It's like a piece of soap. You wash it until the logo is gone. Is it possible to throw it back on the shelf and sell it again? I'm not a second-time seller. Once it's sold, it's non-refundable." When Xia Qian was stripped naked by Qin Fian and thrown onto the bed, he was still hitting her. Her body was about to fall apart. She thought to herself, "If you don't want to return it, then don't. If the logo is gone, you can wash it slowly." Does he want to wash the soap away in one night? She was so anxious that she shouted under Qin Fian, "Qin Fian, get out. Don't press on me. Marry me, I won't press on you. You're lying." "I'm not lying. If you marry me, I won't press on you in the future. How about it?" Xia Qian was a fool, and she was even more stupid after drinking. She was actually tortured by Qin Fian into agreeing. However, Xia Qian said something that made Qin Fian, who had just lost his virginity a few days ago, hate her. Xia Qian muttered after drinking, in the novels, it's written that having sex is a pleasure. Why do I feel like I'm suffering? I don't feel the pleasure at all. But even if he hated her, Qin Fian still resisted touching Xia Qian when he hugged her to sleep. As long as they got married, he would torment her enough. When Xia Qian woke up, Qin Fian asked Xia Qian to marry him. Marry? Who promised you that? You said that as long as I don't touch you again, you will marry me. What? Did I say that? That's right. You're the one who said it. Then I'll sleep here every day in the future. If you don't agree, I'll tell your sister that you slept with me. Let's see how she'll deal with you. The matter of the marriage was settled on a sunny and windy morning in winter. In a daze, Xia Qian became a married woman. Qin Fian took a picture of the marriage certificate with his mobile phone and sent it to his close friends and relatives. For a moment, Sea City was in an uproar. Qiu Xiaoye was furious. Xiaoye was so angry that she was jumping up and down at home. She was crazy. How could her sister get married in such a way? Moreover, it was a photo sent by Qin Fian. Her sister didn't even say a word. What was this? She was an elder. How could this girl be so stupid? Getting married was such a big thing. How could she just take her household register and go? Some media outlets heard the news and wanted to buy the copyright of the marriage certificate photo. Qin Fian didn't sell it. The next day, he made a front-page announcement, announcing that he was no longer single. At night, Xia Qian sat on the sofa in her small apartment and was forced into Qin Fian's arms. Qin Fian looked at Xiaoye smugly. He smiled and looked at Xiaoye. Sister. Xiaoye didn't know what to say. She thought of a lot of questions, but she couldn't get a single one out. Xia Qian didn't say anything now. She felt that she shouldn't be so stupid. This Qin Fian was like a rope that was holding her nose. She really hated him, but how could she listen to him and get married just like that? Shouldn't she be repulsed? But when she turned her head, she saw his eyes. His almond-shaped eyes were very seductive. The light in his eyes was so familiar that it was like asking for her life, ordering her to listen to him no matter what. When Xia Qian saw the light in Qin Fian's eyes, she felt defeated. She felt that he was her nemesis. She must have owed him a debt at some point. They were already married. It was too late to say anything now. Yi Er was holding her big belly and playing 5-in-a-row chess with Fei Yu at home. Jiang Zhao was beside them, telling them about Qin Fian's marriage. Fei Yu was amused. My brother must be keeping his chastity for sister-in-law Qian. The laughter of 3 people echoed in the house, with a strong sense of blessings. Yi Er touched her stomach and suddenly felt something bulging out of it. Ah, he kicked me. Jiang Zhao hurried over and touched Yi Er's belly. He quickly knelt on the ground and pressed his face and hand against Yi Er's belly. He laughed excitedly. Yunyi, you're amazing. Will the two of you fight inside? Turn over. The doctor said it's turning over. Jiang Zhao pressed against Yi Er's belly. He laughed until his eyes were a little wet. God, turning over made such a big commotion. Fei Yu wanted to pull Jiang Zhao away. Brother, let me. Let me touch it. Let me. You've been touching it for so long. Brother, let me, haha. No, I'll let you touch it tomorrow. When Xiaoye returned to 9th Mansion, she threw a tantrum. Zhuang Yichen felt that he had been giving in to her too much recently. She wasn't so bold in the past. Why are you throwing a tantrum? How old are you? Zhuang Yichen. Xiaoya ran her fingers through her hair and threw her bag at Zhuang Yichen. My sister is already married. Ah, I know. Zhuang Yichen was annoyed for a moment. He casually placed Xiaoya's handbag on the cupboard, took off his jacket, and hung it on the hanger. He said calmly, the entire Haiqing knows. You promised me a long time ago. When exactly are we getting married? Zhuang Yichen's slender eyes flashed with hesitation. He turned and walked to the wine cabinet. After thinking for a while, he turned back to the living room and poured himself a glass of water. In the past, Xiaoya would pour water for him. Today, she seemed to be in a bad mood, so he couldn't be bothered to tell her what to do. After a while, the 4 words were clear. When Xiaoya heard them, she felt that the anger in her heart was about to burst out. Zhuang Yichen, what do you mean? Zhuang Yichen wasn't used to interacting with Xiaoya in this way. The lights in the living room were warm in winter, but when they shone on Xiaoya, he felt an indescribable coldness. He put down the glass, walked over, and pulled the woman into his arms. He could feel the rise and fall of her body. He comforted her softly. I said after a while, I promise to marry you. I'll marry you. Xiaoya broke free from Zhuang Yichen and took a few steps back. She looked up at him and saw his dark, handsome eyebrows slightly furrowed. His slender eyes seemed to be reprimanding her for being unreasonable. Xiaoya felt bitter in her heart, and her voice became more and more anxious. After a while, Zhuang Yichen, how long do you plan to be perfunctory with me? I've never thought of being perfunctory with you. Now's not the time. When have I ever broken my promises to you? Zhuang Yichen gradually lost his patience to coax her. He couldn't help but raise his voice. Xiaoya tugged at the corners of her lips. She felt like her voice was blocked by something, and she couldn't continue speaking. She didn't want to mention it in her heart, but the good news came one after another. How could she remain indifferent? Then tell me, when is the time? You came out of the swamp because you promised to marry me, Zhuang Yichen. Yi Er is a mother now, and my sister even got her marriage certificate. Tell me, when is the time? You're still not going to announce it to the public. What are you trying to do? Are you afraid that I'll take a share of your assets? If that's the case, I'll go with you to get a prenuptial agreement. I don't want your money. Xiaoya felt rather sad when she thought of this. Yi Er also had a motive for getting close to Jiang Zhao, but didn't Jiang Zhao also treat her so well? Qin Fian didn't seem like a fake either. She had always valued money. She always felt that she couldn't rely on anything in this life except for money. But now that she had finally found a tall, rich, and handsome man, he actually wanted to use a prenuptial agreement to get a marriage. Without a marriage, the two of them were together every day. Even though she was now living in his apartment, she felt like she would be kicked out of the house at any time. Yi Er was married and had a child. Her sister was also married. She was still single. There was a man in bed, but the spouse column was still empty. Xiaoya tugged at the man with a cold expression. Tears almost fell from her eyes. Zhuang Yichen, I want to marry you right now. I just want to get married. You're not even willing to agree to this one condition. What's wrong with me? I don't want your money now. I'm even willing to get a prenuptial agreement with you. What else do you want me to do? Ha! Seeing the tears in Xiaoya's eyes, Zhuang Yichen's frown deepened. His eyes seemed to be holding back something. In the end, he just coldly interrupted, What nonsense are you talking about? Wait a little longer. I didn't say that I don't want to marry you. It's not a matter of money. Can you understand my difficulties? Xiaoya sniffled and turned to go upstairs. As she walked, she said, Then let's not talk about it anymore. Since it's like this, I can't continue wasting my time on you. My youth is fading away every day. I can't let my youth be wasted like this. You go do your thing, I'll go live my life. Zhuang Yichen stood downstairs and heard the sounds of things being moved around upstairs. Suddenly, he felt that something was wrong. He strode up and saw that the woman had already pulled out her suitcase. The clothes in the wardrobe were piled into the suitcase. He was instantly furious. Little demon Qiu. From Zhuang Yichen's point of view, he really couldn't understand this woman's ridiculous behavior. She was always making a fuss or running away from home. How could she be so good at these kinds of tricks and not be tired of trying them out? Don't you dare walk out of this house today. He exhaled and stood at the door. His posture looked relaxed, but his eyes were sharp and cold as he stared at the woman who was packing her suitcase. Fine, I'll try. Do you think I'm still afraid of you? Now that my sister has Qin Fian's protection, do you think I'm still afraid of you? Xiaoya packed her things in a mess. She took her coat, dragged the oversized suitcase, and squeezed past Zhuang Yichen. Awesome novel, Xinwu 799. Chapter 753. She was used to dressing sexily even in the middle of winter. She wore a black cashmere miniskirt and black stockings that wrapped around her legs. Although there was a huge difference in height between her and Zhuang Yichen, it was rare that they were well proportioned. She went downstairs to the door and put on a light pink coat. She put on her favorite high heels and unlocked the door. Zhuang Yichen closed his eyes and breathed in and out. Suddenly, he heard a click from downstairs. What followed was the sound of a gotcha. Damn it! She dared to slam the door. Zhuang Yichen went downstairs and called Xiaoya. Little demon Qiu, don't overdo it. It'll be meaningless if you overdo it. Xiaoya hung up Zhuang Yichen's call and pulled her suitcase to her car. Zhuang Yichen's heart felt empty for a moment. It was as if his feet were weightless. For a moment, he was confused. They hadn't argued over anything in a long time. He also didn't like to make things difficult for her from time to time like before. Now, he had developed such a bad habit. Women really couldn't be spoiled. Xiaoya threw her suitcase into the back seat and pulled down the hood of the car. Just as she opened the door to the driver's seat, Zhuang Yichen locked the door. Little demon Qiu. Do you have to make a scene? The man's voice was unbearable. Xiaoya looked up at him and hated herself for fooling around with such a man for 4 years. Yes. I said to wait. Zhuang Yichen wasn't a person who liked to explain. However, at this moment, he still spoke up and urged her to stay. I'm not waiting. Xiaoya lowered her head and bit Zhuang Yichen's hand. The man flinched in pain. She quickly got into the car, closed the door, and locked the central control. No matter how Zhuang Yichen banged on the door, she refused to open it. She started the car and started it in an instant. Zhuang Yichen cursed and ran to his car. This crazy woman. Did she have to drive the car all the time? He swore in his heart. This is the last time. Little demon Qiu, this is the last time I'm going to chase you. Don't be ungrateful. Xiaoya's car drove towards Qingfeng Garden. When she was about to reach Qingfeng Garden, she realized that Zhuang Yichen had bought the house for her. What should she do? Her house was bought by Zhuang Yichen. All of her assets and shops were related to Zhuang Yichen. Not waiting. Of it. Of Zhuang Yichen. Where could she go? She could only go to the hotel. She did not want to go to the hotel. She was going to buy a new house tomorrow. So what if she started with Zhuang Yichen? Wasn't she also working hard to earn money? Of Zhuang Yichen. Zhuang Yichen was clearly dragging his feet and refusing to get married. How could a man like him be short of women? Every time he attended her press conference, he would bring a woman with him. He claimed that he was a clean freak, but who knew if he had an affair with those women? Everyone said that Zhuang Yichen was the most mysterious bachelor in Haiqing. Yes, he was the most mysterious. He was so mysterious that she couldn't understand him even though she had been with him for 4 years. Other than knowing that he always liked to press her under him in bed, she didn't know anything else. He liked to be in control of everything. It was the same for everything. Her press conference would be held wherever he wanted it to be. Her interview would be done by whichever magazine he wanted it to be. He never asked for her opinion and only received calls from Liyong from time to time. Miss Chiu, starting next week, there will be a fashion show on the TV station. You will be a special guest and you will be participating in every episode. Young master wants you to prepare for it. He was always like this, making arrangements for her. Being famous wasn't enough. She had to be extremely famous. Other than forcing him to get married, she had never done anything against him, including breaking up with him. He had agreed to it without hesitation. Xiaoyu pounded on the steering wheel with all her might. The loudspeaker was suddenly blaring on the road. Zhuang Yichen's car was following behind. He wanted to keep following her, but when he saw her car swaying and the loudspeaker blaring, he stepped on the accelerator and overtook her. The car windows were parallel and he looked to the right. The lights in the car were on and he could see the woman's face clearly. She opened her mouth and seemed to be screaming. As she screamed, she pounded on the steering wheel. The water stains on her face reflected the light. Zhuang Yichen's car drove over and slid down the window of the passenger's seat. After pressing on the horn, Xiaoyu suddenly froze. She turned around and saw Zhuang Yichen's car right next to hers. He was shouting something at her. She couldn't be bothered with him. She wiped the tears off her face and stepped on the accelerator. Zhuang Yichen cursed in his heart as he chased after her. This D*MN woman was asking for it. But when he thought of how she had cried so sadly just now, he frowned deeply. He was really confused by her. He had already agreed to marry her. What else did she want? Zhuang Yichen's phone rang. He didn't want to pick it up, but when he glanced at the phone on the dashboard, he saw Xiao Man on the screen. He didn't let go of the accelerator and picked up the phone. It was faint, but gentle, and not distant. Xiao Man, Yichen, did Uncle Li tell you what I told you? The woman's voice was sweet, like a pear stewed with rock sugar. Uncle Li told me. Xiao Man, don't worry about me and Zhuang Yifeng. I don't care. You're telling me now, and you're asking me to not care. The woman's voice was sad. Something is going to happen to Shoreline Phase 3, right? Yichen, you won't put yourself in danger just to mess with him, right? He's not defenseless. It's not like you don't know what he's capable of. Zhuang Yichen stared at the car in front of him. His temples suddenly hurt, and his hands that were holding the steering wheel were trembling. His gaze seemed to skip the car in front of him and look further away. He gritted his teeth and said, "Of course. I've always known what he's capable of. You should stop, for your own sake." The woman was a little anxious. "Xiao Man, don't worry about it. This is between me and him." The phone was silent for a while, then the woman said, "Yichen, I'm settling the divorce with him. I'll tell him in 2 days." Her voice was full of hope and joy. Seeing the car in front turn, Zhuang Yichen said, "Okay, I have something to do. I'll hang up first. Sleep early." Xiaoyu's car drove into an alley. At the end of the road, there was a brick wall. Zhuang Yichen got out of the car and closed the door. He came out of the house, still wearing a thin sweater. he didn't seem to feel cold at all. He leaned against the door, but he wasn't as angry as he was in the car just now. His car was stuck in a traffic jam. He wanted to run behind her car. No matter where he ran, he couldn't run away from her. The alley was surrounded by brick walls. Some of the street lights were dark, and some were broken. He leaned there lazily and smiled. He was in a good mood, waiting for his little prey to walk into his trap. He saw the little vixen running towards him in high heels. Her legs were wrapped in black stockings, and it was extremely sexy. The air conditioner must be on in the car. She didn't wear a coat, and this little dress was really suitable on her. Her curves were really good. Xiaoye rushed over angrily, grabbed Zhuang Yichen's collar, and stomped her feet. Zhuang Yichen! Drive your car away. No. Zhuang Yichen was a person who rarely joked outside, and was also exceptionally cold. At this moment, he was smiling playfully and speaking lazily, as if he was teasing someone. If outsiders saw this, they would definitely think that it was big news, but Xiaoye was not surprised. You're blocking my way. Your car is driving forward, my car is behind you, aren't you blocking my way? Taking advantage of the situation, he hugged the woman's waist and pressed it against him. Xiaoye tried to break free from Zhuang Yichen as she made a scene. Now my car is going to back out. You chose the road yourself, how can you retreat just because you want to? Just like. The man pushed the woman onto the roof of his car, and then pressed himself on top of her. He lowered his head and sucked on the woman's lips until she gasped for breath. Only then did he say in a low voice, just like this, I pressed you here, how can I let go just like that? Xiaoye panicked, what are you trying to do? I'll go with you to get a marriage certificate tomorrow, how about that? You're lying to me. I'm not lying to you, I'll use my... He pulled the woman's hand and touched it to his lower body. I'll use it to promise you that I'll go with you to get a marriage certificate tomorrow. Xiaoye touched that hard thing and quickly retracted her hand. You pervert. Then do you believe me? Zhuang Yichen laughed softly. I don't believe you. However, Zhuang Yichen ignored her and reached his hand into her skirt, tilting it to her ear. He lowered his head and licked her ear. You seduced me to this strange and sparsely populated place. What are you trying to do? Xiaoye was still in the midst of the angry atmosphere just now. There was actually a place in Haiqing that he was unfamiliar with. Bah! Go away. As a token of gratitude for marrying you tomorrow, shouldn't you cooperate a little? He pressed her tightly and slowly pulled down the thing in her skirt. Xiaoye was shocked. Zhuang Yichen, are you human? Even if you're in a hurry, you should still go to the car. But I want to take you, little vixen, on the roof of this car right now. Zhuang Yichen could subdue Xiaoye with one hand. His hand pinched the sensitive part of her lower body, and when he heard the woman hiss in pain, he smiled. Xiaoye saw Zhuang Yichen's dangerous smile and became even more nervous. At this moment, she heard the man's belt buckle unbuckle. The man's lips kissed her again, and he said hoarsely, the next time you dare to run away, I'll take you outside during the day, do you believe me? Xiaoye didn't know that Zhuang Yichen was serious. One had to know that although this guy would pounce on her in the house, the two of them rarely had the chance to be together outside. Not to mention being so intimate, even kissing or hugging was not something that was possible. She thought that he was just scaring her, even though he had already unbuckled his belt, removed her underwear, and raised her butt. However, she also thought that he was just scaring her. After all, he always had the ability to be so calm and collected that he could scare people to death. This time, she really couldn't lose to him. When he aimed himself at her, it was too late for her to scream. Add Songshu 566. Chapter 754. There was no one at first, but you called a few people over. I don't care. He pushed her in. Ah. The winter wind was still a little cold. However, the roof of the car was still a little warm. Although Xiaoya was not wearing a jacket, she did not feel cold at all. Zhuang Yichen did not feel cold at all. He welded himself into her body, rubbing and pressing, listening to her suppressed and excited moans. Such a place made him very excited. Xiaoya looked around nervously. Looking at Zhuang Yichen, she came back to her senses again and again. She looked up and saw the man's face above her, and the countless stars in the sky were looking at her. You're not allowed to run away next time, do you understand? Xiaoya breathed heavily. Did you hear that? Xiaoya shouted after a hard bump. Ah. Got it. I wanted to write it in more detail, but I didn't dare to. I heard that it would be very miserable after entering the little dark room, so I could only bear with it. Everyone can imagine it for themselves. Anyway, it means doing it. Xiaoya registered her marriage very quickly. Although she had moved into Zhuang Yichen's house a few months ago, the two of them rarely went in and out together. Today, they registered their marriage. Zhuang Yichen pulled her into the back seat of his silver Bugatti, and Li Yong drove. Zhuang Yichen leaned against the back seat. He was a cool person outside. He was expressionless and seemed a little arrogant. He pulled Xiaoya's hand as if he was playing with the claws of a small pet. He was nonchalant. Xiaoya snuggled in his arms. He asked lightly, "Are you happy?" "Yes, I'm happy." "Why did you pursue such a thing? Forcing him to get married, this woman." Xiaoya wrinkled her nose and snorted. "Then why didn't you take the initiative to invite me to sit in your car before we got married?" Zhuang Yichen thought for a while. "Xiaoyao, it's not good to be the wife of a rich man, I think it's good to be your wife." Thinking about how they would be entering the Civil Affairs Bureau later, Yi Er said that although the booklet was cheap, it was stamped with steel and couldn't compare to anything. Her heart was filled with sweetness. She hugged Zhuang Yichen's neck and put her little mouth on his ear. She bit her lip and smiled until her eyes narrowed. She said softly, "Yichen, I think I've loved you for a long time." "Do you think I fell in love with you a long time ago?" The woman's voice was like a feather, brushing his ears again and again. Li Yong glanced at the rearview mirror and found that the young master, who had always looked cold, was smiling gently. The corners of his lips squeezed the muscles on his face and his slender eyes were smiling. Zhuang Yichen didn't look at Xiaoya. He looked straight ahead and reached out to take the little head on his shoulder. He moved it closer to him. His gaze was still looking straight ahead and he smiled faintly, but his mouth was close to her ear. He whispered, "Change your posture tonight. If you do well, I'll give you a company." Xiaoya slapped his leg. No matter how thick-skinned she was, there was still someone sitting in front of them. If it was someone she was familiar with, it would be fine, but she wasn't familiar with Li Yong. Li Yong seemed to be Zhuang Yichen's elder. How could this guy be like this? What if he overheard? She refused softly, "No way. Change your posture tonight. If you do well, I'll give you a company and personally accompany you to pick out a diamond ring." Xiaoya anxiously looked at Li Yong's reaction. Her ears were burning. She lowered her head and reached out to grab Zhuang Yichen's leg. "Don't say any more." "I won't do it." Zhuang Yichen reached out and touched Xiaoya's ear. He couldn't help but laugh. He didn't let go of her head and continued to chuckle into her ear. "Change your posture tonight. You do it. If you do well, I'll give you a company and personally accompany you to pick out a diamond ring. In half a month, I'll give you a grand wedding." Xiaoya was stunned for a moment. She suddenly lay down on Zhuang Yichen's leg. Zhuang Yichen lowered his head to look at her. He saw that her back and shoulders were trembling and felt a wet touch on his leg. He raised his hand in the air and after a while, it landed on her hair. He still remembered that time when she met Kang Eun. In Kang Eun's wallet, there was a photo of her. At that time, her hair was long and the flowers that bloomed from her eyes were all lotus flowers. The smile at the corner of her mouth was pure and beautiful. He had never asked her what had caused her to become like this today. At least, he had never seen her with her long hair. She had never smiled at him like she did in that photo. Her hair was now just past her earlobes. She liked to wear sexy and enchanting clothes. Her makeup was the same, charming and enchanting. From the first time he saw her, she would move her snake-like waist to seduce him. She would sit in his arms generously. She treated him to a drink, but he was the one who paid the bill. There was a period of time when he wondered why he had never seen Xiaoye Qiu like in the photo. But now that he thought about it, from the beginning, the person he saw was Qiu Xiaoyao. In the following 4 years, the woman who was entangled with him countless times was also Qiu Xiaoyao. This demon had already cultivated into a spirit. The Qiu Xiaoye Qiu with long hair and pure eyes was just a synonym in the process of growth. Yi Chen's external appearance. Her hair was very soft. In his palm, it was smooth, just like the 4 years they had been together. It was very smooth and smooth. Except for that accident in the swamp, their relationship had always been very smooth. Breaking up did not affect them at all. Agreeing to marry her was something he could not understand at that time. It was just a bed partner. How could he lack one? Not all bed partners were Qiu Xiaoyao. This woman had been with him for 4 years. He had always admired her indifference. It made him feel no pressure at all. But when she said that she wanted to break up without caring, it completely messed up the balance between them. He thought that it was just an occasional mess and that it would be straightened out one day. But after she was in danger on the grassland, it messed up his balance again. She said that before she died, her last wish was actually like that. Xiaoye almost lost control of her emotions when she heard Zhuang Yichen say, "I'll give you a grand wedding." She wanted a wedding. A wedding to prove that Zhuang Yichen had a woman by his side called Qiu Xiaoye. But she was not greedy enough to want a grand wedding. She pinched her arm, thinking that she was dreaming. He said half a month, half a month. She had begged for so long but could not get it, but he said half a month. Qiu Xiaoyao, don't blame me for not reminding you. When we get the marriage certificate later, we have to take photos. If your eyes are red, then the photos can't be changed. Zhuang Yichen stroked the woman's hair and said slowly. Xiaoye immediately controlled her emotions. When she sat up, she quickly took a tissue and a mirror to clean her face. "You've dirted my pants. What should I do?" Zhuang Yichen looked at Xiaoye and pointed at the wet marks on his legs. He said seriously, "Go back and change." "No." Xiaoye threw the mirror and tissue away and hugged Zhuang Yichen. "No, no. The photos only take the upper body. The pants can't be seen. It's okay." Zhuang Yichen, seeing Xiaoye throw the mirror and tissue away, he could not help but laugh. But at this time, he only smiled faintly. "But I can see, and it's wet and uncomfortable." How pretentious. How can a man be so pretentious? Aren't my tears salty salt too? Every time you work out, don't you sweat when you go out to play basketball? Aren't they salt too? Your sweat can get on your body, but my tears can't. Why are you so pretentious? You're very sharp-tongued. You forced me to. Zhuang Yichen raised his hand and swept it. His slender fingers clasped on his knee and gently tapped it. "Hey, what do you think of the conditions I mentioned to you just now?" Xiaoye thought about her grand wedding and shrugged. She smiled nonchalantly and said, "I'm fine. I'm afraid that you won't be used to it. Why wouldn't I be used to it? Little Ye leaned over and whispered in his ear, "Oh. If I'm on top of you, will you be used to it?" Zhuang Yichen raised his eyebrows casually. Of course. Liar, you've never been used to it. Don't think that I don't know. Zhuang Yichen did not care that the driver was still sitting in front of him. He shook his head. That's because you're not good enough. Why don't I do it? Xiaoye was so shocked that she covered his mouth. Why are you speaking so loudly? What did I say? I only said that your skills need to be improved. You have to be worthy of the gift I gave you, right? Xiaoye thought that it was better to stop talking. If she continued, Li Yong would treat the young master like air, but he would feel uncomfortable with her, the young madam who had suddenly become the young madam. She kept fanning her eyes. When the photo was taken, Xiaoye was very excited. The photographer teased, "Looks like the bride has succeeded in her marriage." Xiaoye blushed and suddenly showed a hint of shyness. The camera flashed and the photo was taken. The moment they received the marriage certificate, Xiaoye took a photo of it and sent it to Jiang Zhao, Yi Er, and Xia Qian. She thought to herself, I'm now a married person too. Xiaoye and Zhuang Yichen walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Suddenly, someone called out to them. The two of them turned around at the same time. When Zhuang Yichen saw who it was, he frowned. Xiaoye also frowned when she saw this person. She knew this person. It was Zhuang Yifeng. He didn't look like Zhuang Yichen. Zhuang Yichen's appearance was masculine, while Zhuang Yifeng was more feminine. Although he looked good when he smiled, it always made people feel that he was up to no good. Of course, Zhuang Yichen wasn't a good person either, but at least he wouldn't smile carelessly. She had always known that Zhuang Yichen didn't have a good relationship with his family. From Zhuang Yichen's indifferent words, she already had a rough idea of it. As for how bad it was, she had never asked in detail. This was because Zhuang Yichen was a person who was rarely happy. When she mentioned his brother once, his face darkened. She didn't want to ruin their lives. Yichen, what a coincidence. A woman's slender arm passed through the crook of Zhuang Yifeng's arm. Xiaoye knew that this person was Zhuang Yifeng's wife, Xian Man. Zhuang Yichen had inadvertently let go of Xiaoye's hand. When Xiaoye realized that she wanted to hold his hand, he subtly avoided it. Xiaoye was very unhappy. Songshu 566. Chapter 755. Yeah, what a coincidence, Zhuang Yichen replied faintly, sounding very distant. Zhuang Yifeng deliberately sized up the Civil Affairs Bureau and asked curiously, What are you doing here? Zhuang Yichen answered casually, just taking a look. Xiaoye wanted to say something, but Zhuang Yichen turned around and said coldly, Take a taxi and go back to the store. Xiaoye was stunned and felt as if something was stuck in her throat. She saw Xian Man holding onto Zhuang Yichen's arm and chatting with him. She didn't know if it was her sixth sense or her own inexplicable feeling, but she felt that the atmosphere was very strange. The way Xian Man looked at Zhuang Yichen was even softer than the way she looked at Zhuang Yichen. Damn it, in broad daylight, in front of her husband and wife, these two bastards were actually flirting with each other. How infuriating. Xiaoye had always met people from the upper class, so she naturally knew that it wasn't easy being a rich man's wife. Of course, she couldn't make a scene when she encountered such a situation. She had never thought that she was Zhuang Yichen's only woman. In fact, she had always felt that she was just one of Zhuang Yichen's many women. However, Zhuang Yichen's scandals never ended. Zhuang Yichen and Zhuang Yifeng didn't have a good relationship and had always been at odds with each other. Xiaoye didn't know the reason, but now that she saw that Zhuang Yichen was only looking at someone else's wife, she suddenly had a bold thought. Zhuang Yichen hated Zhuang Yifeng. Could it be related to Axian Man? As her thoughts drifted, she heard the man's cold scolding, "Why aren't you leaving?" Zhuang Yifeng laughed out loud, "Yichen, it's not good to be so fierce to Miss Zhou." Xiaoya felt uncomfortable being sized up by Zhuang Yichen. Zhuang Yichen didn't give her face, but she couldn't not give him face. She stood elegantly and smiled politely. Zhuang Yichen had never called Zhuang Yifeng and Axian Man big brother and sister-in-law, so she thought that she shouldn't call them that. "Mr. Zhuang, Mrs. Zhuang, I'll leave first. You two chat." Xiaoya hailed a taxi. After getting in, she slammed the door shut. She reached her hand into her handbag and felt the 2 marriage certificates. Her chest heaved up and down. When Zhuang Yichen was chatting with Axian Man, he always neglected Zhuang Yichen. The atmosphere was a little awkward. It wasn't until Zhuang Yichen got in the car that Zhuang Yifeng's face turned cold. He watched as Zhuang Yichen's car drove away. "Axian Man, there are some things that you can't play with me." Axian Man was stunned. She stiffened her back and said, "You never believed me." Zhuang Yifeng turned to look at Axian Man, whose face was a little pale. "Believe you? Do you think I don't know about your relationship?" Zhuang Yichen smiled coldly. "Tell me, have you slept with him again recently?" Axian Man's eyes widened. "What nonsense are you talking about?" "Nonsense." Zhuang Yifeng grabbed Axian Man's hand. "When he saw you, he even chased away the woman around him. Didn't you notice that Qiu Xiaoya was jealous?" "What does that have to do with me?" "It means that Zhuang Yichen treats you differently from how he treats Qiu Xiaoya." Zhuang Yifeng tightened his grip, and Axian Man cried out in pain. "Ah!" There were people coming and going at the entrance of the police station. Zhuang Yifeng didn't like to be looked at like a monkey, so he dragged Axian Man away. When he threw Axian Man into the car, Zhuang Yifeng still didn't let go of her hand. He leaned over and said with a gloomy expression, "Axian Man, Zhuang Yichen hasn't had a woman for so many years. Isn't it because of you?" It wasn't that Axian Man was unhappy, but she was afraid of Zhuang Yifeng's capriciousness. "He has always been like this. It has nothing to do with me. The two of you don't even try to avoid suspicion. How dare you say it has nothing to do with you? Last week, you went to Hainan. Did you go with him? Did the two of you go out to fool around?" "Ha!" Zhuang Yifeng's eyes were full of jealousy. He had snatched this woman from Zhuang Yichen. He had done everything he could to train her, but now he still felt that this woman could fly. "You are unreasonable." Zhuang Yifeng kissed Axian Man as if he was possessed. He took off her clothes and muttered, "I want to see how much you miss him. The next time you see him, you look like you can't wait to crawl into his arms. I'll kill you." Zhuang Yichen got into the car and said to Li Yong, "Uncle Li, have you collected all the information for Shoreline Phase 3? "Yes, young master. There are still some left. I am afraid that only Mayor Jiang can get them." "Okay, I'll go look for him tonight." Zhuang Yichen held his phone in his hand and pressed the screen with his fingers. He looked at the time and felt that Jiang Zhao should not be free at this time, so he waited for a while until the car arrived. Only when he was downstairs at Stars International did he make the call. "Brother Zhao." "What's up?" Jiang Zhao clipped his phone to his shoulder. He held a pen in his hand and quickly wrote on the note. After he finished writing, he tore the note and passed it to Li Ran. Li Ran looked at it and said softly to Shen Kai, who was sitting on the sofa, "Mr. Shen, please wait for a while." Shen Kai nodded and did not say anything. Jiang Zhao continued to work. "I'll send the information for Shoreline Phase 3 to you tonight." Zhuang Yichen's question was very tactful. He could not just ask him directly, "When are you going to get rid of Zhuang Yifeng for me?" "Tonight?" Jiang Zhao looked at Shen Kai and hesitated. Shen Kai sat on the sofa and shrugged. He raised his right hand and gestured for Zhuang Yichen to go ahead. Zhuang Yichen asked. You are not free. Looking at the generous Shen Kai, Jiang Zhao could not take advantage of him. Okay. Zhuang Yichen thought for a while. How about this? You can send the information to my house. I will settle other things tonight and go back to look at the information. I will call you again. Okay. I will not disturb you from your work. Goodbye. Goodbye. Zhuang Yichen hung up the phone. Uncle Li, help me wrap up the jade pillow that I bought last time. Ah. Li Yong was puzzled. That item had cost a lot of money. Are you giving this jade pillow to Mayor Jiang? Zhuang Yichen thought for a while. I don't have any use for this item. Mrs. Jiang is pregnant now, and jade is good for her health. The last time we bought this jade pillow, the seller had said that pregnant women will get upset easily. That jade pillow is not an ordinary jade pillow. It can help pregnant women to sleep better. Just send it over. But what if Mayor Jiang does not accept it? It's not up to me. I'll get Xiaoye to do it. Okay. I will go back in the afternoon to wrap it up. Zhuang Yichen nodded and alighted from the car. Shen Kai sat on the sofa and crossed his legs. Mayor, you are really busy. Busy as you. Jiang Zhao was really busy. He does not want to work overtime at night. If he can hold meetings during the day, he will not hold them at night. If he can let the deputy mayor handle the social activities, he will not do it himself. Yes, of course you won't be as busy as me. Your family doesn't have anything to run around. When Shen Kai talked about big things, he also had an indifferent expression. If Jiang Zhao did not guess wrongly, the only time Shen Kai was jealous in front of him was because of Shen Xian. Jiang Zhao signed the last document in his hand. Okay. He put down his pen and walked to the reception area. He sat down. Is the Shen family situation so bad now? It's not that bad. Shen Xian's matter has indeed put the Shen family in a very passive position. Fortunately, the old man has always been a very strong person. The Shen family will not collapse. We have mines in Shaanxi and Yunnan. We just need some time and we'll be able to recover very soon. But right now, recovery is not that fast. Jiang Zhao, on the other hand, admired old Master Shen's courage, and he was more and more impressed with Shen Kai. You came to me so openly to ask about the internal projects. Is it okay? Shen Kai pouted. Yes, it is not okay. If not, you should give up your mayor position for me. Then I will not look for you. Ha ha ha. Jiang Zhao laughed out loud. Let me put it this way. The bidding for the Ocean Bridge project requires a large amount of funds as a deposit. I have an idea. Tonight, I'll ask Fei Yan out. You guys can sit together and have a good talk. If this project is taken over by the Qin and Shen families, I feel that no other company will be able to snatch it. Mayor Jiang, tell me. How should I thank you? Before Jiang Zhao could say anything, Shen Kai had stood up and sighed. You should not want to marry me. I will pay for dinner. Jiang Zhao stood up and wanted to give him a punch. Shen Kai quickly took a step back and raised his eyebrows. I am not taking benefits for free. Let me tell you something. Someone reported you and Zhuang Yichen, Jiang Zhao paused for a moment. Report. Yes. It is anonymous. Shen Kai was no longer joking. But from the contents of the report, it seems that the person who reported you is not very familiar with your situation. I don't think there is any solid evidence. Jiang Zhao laughed. In this society, there will be waves even if there is no wind. Shinkai knew some things were not suitable for him to know. So, he did not ask any more questions and left. Qin Fian called. Brother, come home for dinner tonight. Fian, I have an appointment with Shinkai tonight. You should join us. Are you serious? I have already told Qian to show off her skills tonight. It's the project of the cross-sea bridge. My time is also tight. You arrange it yourself. Jiang Zhao was still a little annoyed by the matter mentioned by Shinkai at this time. Therefore, his words were a little stiff. Qin Fian could tell that Jiang Zhao's tone was not good. He did not say anything else and hung up the phone. Zhuang Yichen looked at the documents prepared by Li Yong. If it was not for Jiang Zhao, he would not have been able to solve this problem. He would have to create trouble on stage. He did not want to delay Zhuang Yifeng's matter any longer. Now, Zhuang Yifeng still wanted to get old Zhuang out of prison. He would not give them the chance to do so. It was not time for Xia Qian to get off work. The minister came over with a smile. Xiao Xia, you can get off work now. Ah. Xia Qian was confused. Why? Young Master Fian is here to pick you up. Come and see. Songshu 566. Chapter 756. Xia Qian secretly sighed. Now that she had a man, the treatment? Was it that much higher? But she didn't want to get off work. Qin Fian was a liar. He said he wouldn't touch her after they got married, but now she was wearing a turtleneck sweater every day. Sitting in Qin Fian's car, Xia Qian didn't like to talk much. Yo, how did you suddenly change from a chatterbox to a scholar who believes silence is golden? Qin Fian laughed as he drove. The car was heading towards the Qin residence. Even though he had a place to stay outside, he had arranged for Xia Qian to stay in the old residence. Old Master Qin lived in the old residence. He realized that no matter who it was, they would give old Master Qin some face. Just by standing there, the younger generation naturally had to be respectful. Xia Qian dared to argue with him, but she seemed to respect old Master Qin, which meant that she wasn't too stupid. Also, Fei Yu lived in the old residence. Fei Yu was obedient and sensible. She kept calling her sister-in-law, which made Xia Qian blush. No matter how much she disliked him, she liked Fei Yu a lot. This thing was meant to attack one's heart. Anyway, he couldn't let go of her soft spot. Why do you care? Xia Qian replied coldly. Ha, you don't want me to care about you. Qin Fian pushed the frame of his glasses up his nose and smirked. Xia Qian was speechless. Who would want to try it with him? I'm going to pick up Fei Yu on the way. You and Fei Yu can have dinner at home. I have a social engagement tonight. When Xia Qian heard that Qin Fian wasn't going to eat with her, she immediately smiled. Okay. Qin Fian's face darkened. You're so happy that I'm not eating at home. Xia Qian didn't dare to be rash in front of Qin Fian now. She could only mutter, I feel uncomfortable with you sitting beside me. Qin Fian huffed angrily. Humph. He snorted. When they picked up Fei Yu was carrying a big bouquet of roses. Many of her classmates looked at her enviously. The car started again. Xia Qian turned around and said to Fei Yu, Xiao Yu, did the handsome guy give this to you? Classmate. Fei Yu was very generous. He said that he wanted to thank me for my help. Originally, he wanted to give me perfume lilies or carnations because I was his tutor. But when he went to the flower shop in the morning, they were all sold out. He could only buy roses and said that he would compensate me next time. No way, it can't be an excuse, right? He won't. He's a very honest classmate. Fei Yu was still smiling gently. Qin Fian heard Xia Qian and Fei Yu talking so enthusiastically that he couldn't get a word in edgewise. He was a little annoyed. Why didn't Xia Qian have so much to say to him? Even going to bed with him was like forcing her to death. Until the last moment when she couldn't resist anymore, she had to keep resisting. How depressing. Qin Fian sent Fei Yu and Xia Qian back to the old mansion before driving off. He had to go see Shen Kai. When Fei Yu saw Fengxing, she smiled at him. Fengxing smiled back at her, but the smile only lasted for a moment before Fengxing turned away with a gloomy face. After the meal, Fei Yu carried the flowers back to his residence. As soon as she entered, Fengxing followed her in and closed the door. Fei Yu turned around and looked at Fengxing with an extremely unfamiliar expression. Fengxing. She put the flowers on the table. Fengxing glared at her, picked up the flowers on the table and threw them on the floor. Fei Yu was shocked. Fengxing. What are you doing? Fengxing bent down and picked up the bouquet, handing it to Fei Yu. Fei Yu didn't understand and took it. She hugged it and was about to put it on the table when Fengxing slapped the back of Fei Yu's hand. He snatched the bouquet and threw it on the floor. Fei Yu was stunned. The back of her hand hurt from the slap. What was wrong with him today? What are you doing? Fei Yu was also a little angry. She had grown up in this house and no one had ever hit her before. How could Fengxing do that? Her eyes reddened and glistened with tears. Fengxing sighed and picked up the flowers again. He handed them to Fei Yu with a guilty expression. Fei Yu hesitated for a moment before taking them. This time, Fengxing not only slapped Fei Yu's hand, but also threw the flowers on the floor and stomped on them. Fengxing. That's enough. Fengxing picked up a decent rose and handed it to Fei Yu. In a fit of anger, Fei Yu slapped him on the floor. What was he doing? Fengxing's handsome face broke into a beautiful smile. He turned and left the room. Fei Yu thought about how she had been slapped by Fengxing and felt terrible. She lay on the table and couldn't help but cry. The door was pushed open again. Fengxing held a small branch of red plum blossoms in his hand. The weather was warmer this year and the plum blossoms in the house didn't bloom particularly well. But in Fengxing's fair hand, a small branch of plum blossoms only had 7 or 8 small flowers, but it looked exceptionally lush. Fengxing smiled and nudged Fei Yu who was lying on the floor. He handed the branch of plum blossoms to Fei Yu. Fei Yu raised her head and looked at Fengxing with tears in her eyes. The smile on Fengxing's face froze. He squatted down in front of Fei Yu and reached out to wipe her tears. He then handed the flowers to her and lifted his chin. Is it for me? Fei Yu's voice was nasal. Fengxing nodded. Am I the only one allowed to accept flowers from you? Fengxing exhaled, his smile still on his lips. Then, he stretched his neck forward and his lips fell on the corner of Fei Yu's eyes. After he drew back, he nodded at Fei Yu. Fei Yu froze. The branch of plum blossoms in her hand was still cold. The fragrance of the plum blossoms was right at the tip of her nose. She sniffed. Fengxing, you like me, don't you? The boy answered her by nodding over and over again. Fei Yu smiled through her tears. That flower was given to me by one of my students who needed tutoring. It's not what you think. Fei Yu stood up and pulled Fengxing up as well. She stood on her tiptoes and wrapped her arms around the boy's neck. She jumped up with laughter. Fengxing, I also like you. I also like you. I don't want other people's flowers anymore. I only want the flowers that Fengxing gives me, okay? Okay. His innocent age and tender kiss was both a test and a desire. Fei Yu dodged, her face burning hot. Then, she stood on her tiptoes again and welcomed the boy's nervous and tender kiss. His fair and slender fingers threaded through the girl's hair. Fei Yu said, "Fengxing, you can hear me. I really hope that one day, you can also tell me that you like me." When Qin Rongfang pushed open the door to Fei Yu's room, his face was ashen. He had lived for decades and he had never been so angry even when Qin Fian said he was gay. His granddaughter. He had once boasted in front of Ouyangxing that his granddaughter was so innocent and sensible. Now, she was hiding in her own room with a servant. The two of them rolled onto the sofa. If old Wu had not told him that Fengxing was a little strange, he would not have come to care about Fei Yu. Fei Yu and Fengxing both got up from the sofa and stood up. Fei Yu was so scared that she trembled. She quickly hid Fengxing behind her like a chicken. She knew that it was over. The last time she did not allow Fengxing to be sent away, she had exchanged her life for it. This time, she knew that it was useless. It was unknown whether she could protect Fengxing or not. "Grandpa, someone, send this Fengxing to the police station." Fei Yu saw 4 or 5 servants entering the room and walking towards them. She was so scared that she hugged Fengxing tightly. She was afraid that Fengxing would leave and that he would be sent to the police station. She shouted loudly, "Grandpa! It has nothing to do with Fengxing. It has nothing to do with him. It's me. I seduced him, Grandpa." The servants tried to pull the two apart, but Fei Yu kept shouting that she was the one who seduced Fengxing. Pia! A slap, hard. It was Qin Rongfang's withered hand that slapped her. The servants had already separated Fengxing and Fei Yu. When he saw Fei Yu being slapped, Fengxing's eyes reddened. He struggled to break free from the people who were holding him down and shouted, "Ah! Ah! Lock Miss in the backyard. Old Wu, call the school immediately and ask for leave. Fei Yu will not be going to school in the future. We will hire a tutor and she will attend during the college entrance exam." "Yes, master." Uncle Wu did not dare to make a sound and quickly agreed. "Grandpa, where are you sending Fengxing?" "Grandpa, don't send him away." Fei Yu's face was still burning in pain. She was very weak and could not resist at all. She could only cry and beg Qin Rongfang, "Grandpa, don't send him away. Everyone, disperse. If anyone says anything about what happened tonight, don't blame me for being rude." Qin Rongfang turned and walked away. The servants behind him quickly followed. When Qin Fian returned to the Qin family, he was called to the study by Qin Rongfang and told him what happened that night. Qin Fian drank his coffee. "Grandpa, I've thought about this. It would happen sooner or later. It's impossible to send him to the police station. You can only comfort Fei Yu and send Fengxing to the police station. Won't you regret what you've done to her?" "Humph. What do you know at such a young age?" Qin Fian could not accept what he had seen that night. Fei Yu's room was very big. It was different from the others' rooms. The others' rooms were decorated in a Chinese style. Only Fei Yu's room was decorated in a European style. It was pink and white everywhere. These colors were just like Fei Yu's, pure. But he saw her and Fengxing hugging each other and lying on the European-style sofa. She was only 17 years old. When he thought of this, his heart bled. "Grandpa, I'm going to tell Fei Yu now to send Fengxing to Jiang District to study. And I won't lie to her. Anyway, she can either send him to the police station and let the Qin family decide on the charges, or send him to the elite school in Jiang District and let her decide. If she doesn't listen, then there's no need to choose. Just send him to the police station. What do you think? Go do it, go do it. I have to take some medicine to lower my blood pressure. Right now I feel very dizzy and in pain." Qin Rongfang waved his hand. When Jiang Zhao returned home, he saw Xiaoye chatting with Yi Er. He also saw a very high-end cloth bag on the tea machine. Inside was a rectangular box. It must be a gift. He had always been sensitive to such things. When Yi saw him coming over, she quickly waved at him and said, "Ah, Zhao, come and sit for a while." I told Sister Xiaoya, but she didn't believe me. Jiang Zhao greeted Xiaoya first, then said to Yi, "What?" She didn't believe what? Yi took Xiaoya's hand and said, "Xiaoya, if you don't believe me, ask Jiang Zhao. Am I afraid of catching a cold? Every time I sleep in the middle of the night, I have to snuggle into his arms. Otherwise, my hands and feet will easily freeze. People say that pregnant women have more internal heat. I think it's because I've been releasing some internal heat. It's too serious. I'm a little cold now." Jiang Zhao tried to decipher the meaning behind Yi's words. He thought that things might not be so simple, so he smiled at Xiaoya and said, "What's wrong with Xiaoya? Do you have some experience to discuss with Yi? She's like that. She catches a cold easily." Xiaoya was a little troubled. Zhuang Yichen said that he wanted to give this jade pillow to Yi, but she didn't want to accept it. What was going on? When did Yi's body become cold? Or did Zhuang Yichen and Jiang Zhao's relationship fall apart? Yi pulled the cloth bag on the tea machine and placed it on Xiaoya's lap. "Sister Xiaoya, the next time you come, just come and sit anywhere you want. You don't have to bring gifts. It's such a waste to give me this jade pillow. I don't know how to sleep and I'm afraid of the cold. But let me tell you, I found that you have a set of clothes that looks especially good. It's the new spring collection that you just released. When my baby is born, you can make a set of parent-child clothes for me." Jiang Zhao finally understood Yi's intentions. He thought that this girl had matured quite a bit. The jade pillow that Zhuang Yichen gave her was probably worth a lot of money. His dealings with Zhuang Yichen had never involved gifts. All the benefits they talked about were related to business. Yi had really grown up. After being framed by Jingling, she was much more careful now. Jiang Zhao smiled and said, "I don't have a share in the parent-child set. You can't just make it for them and not me, right? Xiaoya, you can't be so stingy. At most, I'll just give you a few thousand yuan as a token." Xiaoya laughed heartily. "You guys are really something. It's just a few pieces of parent-child clothing. But I've never made children's clothing before. Yi, tell me which piece you like next time. I'll find a designer to make a new version of children's clothing for you." Welfare, Xinwu 799. Chapter 757. Xiaoya carried the jade pillow home. Zhuang Yichen was in his home clothes. He had just ended a call and saw that she was covered in dirt. He walked over and wrapped his arms around her, asking in a low voice, "What's wrong?" "My wife." Yi didn't want it. Xiaoya wasn't stupid. Yi didn't refuse it because she was afraid of the cold, but because she didn't dare to accept it. They often exchanged gifts, and this feeling was really uncomfortable. "Zhuang Yichen, how much is this jade pillow worth?" Zhuang Yichen took the bag containing the rectangular sandalwood box and casually placed it on the ground. He kissed Xiaoya on the cheek and said casually, "It's only 24 million. "Oh my God." Xiaoya trembled. She was scared to death. She quickly pushed Zhuang Yichen away and picked up the bag on the ground. She hugged it in her arms and ran upstairs to find a place to put it away. When she went downstairs again, Xiaoya raised her fist and punched Zhuang Yichen's chest. "What's wrong with you? How can you just throw something that's worth 24 million? Is that even jade? Do you think it's a stainless steel bowl?" Zhuang Yichen heard Xiaoya's words and laughed out loud. The value of anything lies in its use. If you buy it at a higher price, it won't be worth anything. It's just a piece of rock. He held her little fist and pulled her into his arms. He didn't seem to blame her for not doing things well. What's wrong? Are you in a bad mood? Yi-Chen, are you in trouble? Is Jiang Zhao unwilling to help you now? I've given Yi-Er many things in the past. Why is she unwilling to accept this today? Is it because she won't accept it, so you can't do things well? It's normal that she won't accept it. Has Jiang Zhao gone back? Yeah, he went back. He came back after chatting for a while. Don't worry about it. Don't think too much about it. By the way, shouldn't you prepare for what we talked about in the car today? Hey! Xiaoye glared at him anxiously. She was still worried about him, but he kept thinking about those things. Hey, what? Didn't we agree that if you do well tonight, I'll give you a grand wedding in half a month's time? Don't you want it? How could Xiaoye not want it? Even if she saw him flirting with Axian man, she still wanted it. I'm going to take a shower. Aren't you going to take a shower? Zhuang Yichen leaned against the screen next to him, crossed his arms, raised his eyebrows, and chuckled. I've already showered. I'm just waiting for my wife to surprise me. Xiaoye had been with Zhuang Yichen for 4 years. When she was bathing, she thought that even if he had never let her take the lead, he still knew how to take the initiative. It was really strange. After getting the marriage certificate, could she occupy the position that he had always occupied? Did it mean that her status would be elevated? Compared to Yi-Er and Qian, her marriage didn't have the blessings of her husband's family, so it was a little strange. But as long as he was willing to marry her, it was fine. Many women in Haiqing fantasized about Zhuang Yichen, but Zhuang Yichen had already promised to marry her, didn't he? Who cared about Axian man or Enchanting? Xiaoye finished bathing and got dressed. She put on her sexy pajamas and walked out of the bathroom. She realized that Zhuang Yichen wasn't in the bedroom. Zhuang Yichen. She shouted a few times and then shouted at the top of her lungs. Downstairs. Zhuang Yichen's voice came from downstairs. Oh my God. He wasn't going to bed. Was he in bed? What was he doing downstairs? Xiaoye's purple nightgown was as thin as a cicada's wing. In the past, she used to sleep alone and had never worn something like this. It was uncomfortable. After moving to 9th Mansion, she didn't have the chance to wear it. Usually, she would be raped by a wild wolf before she could even leave the bathroom after taking a shower. It wasn't easy for her to take the initiative today. She couldn't miss such an opportunity. Xiaoye's figure was petite compared to Zhuang Yichen's, but it was well proportioned. It wasn't too good, but she was good at dressing up. She always used clothes to make her body look curvy. She knew that her breasts weren't big, so she still wore a black lace bra that was half a bust size. It was a set with her underwear. The pajamas had a V-neck with silk edges, and the tip of the collar just happened to reach the cleavage squeezed out by the bra. Xiaoye slowly walked down the stairs with her chin raised. Her short hair was straight to her ears, and her neck was bare. She was beautiful and slender, and every step she took made her flirtatious. But when she went downstairs, she realized a very strange fact. That man was still standing there, not moving. Even when he saw her dressed so sexily walking towards him, he still didn't move. Shouldn't he pounce on her like before? But look at the way he was standing. He was wearing home clothes and leaning lazily against the screen. He even looked like a hooligan with his arms crossed and tiptoed. The smile on his face was like a gangster who wanted to tease a girl, but he didn't pounce on her. Xiaoye lowered her head to check her outfit. She thought that if she looked at herself in the mirror, she would have a nosebleed. But did this man swallow all the nosebleed into his stomach? Why are you standing there? Come and hug me. Zhuang Yichen raised his eyebrows and said to Xiaoya in a seemingly serious manner. Pfft. Xiaoya was caught off guard. What? She wanted to hug him. Wasn't she going to seduce him? How do I hug you? Xiaoya stood at the top of the stairs and looked at Zhuang Yichen, who was standing at the other end of the living room. Hug me like how I usually hug you. Zhuang Yichen gave Xiaoya a, you don't even know this expression. Xiaoya thought to herself, hug him horizontally. Hug him around his waist. Then why did she have to make her outfit so rippling? She could have just worn Ultraman's armor. And she had to hug him like how he usually hugged her. This was too difficult. If she hugged him from the door all the way upstairs, then forget it. Even if she forced her intestines out, she wouldn't be able to carry him. This wedding probably wouldn't be possible. I'm sleepy. Xiaoya turned around and went upstairs. Zhuang Yichen, who was leaning against the fixed screen, was feeling smug. At this moment, he almost lost his balance. Little demon Qiu. I'm sleepy. It's fine as long as we have the marriage certificate. I don't want the wedding. Without the wedding, I'm still Mrs. Zhuang. What's there to be afraid of? Xiaoya wasn't a lady from a wealthy family. Her personality had always been very carefree. She would pretend to be elegant when she was outside. However, she seemed to have forgotten that she had been raped because she said the word F***ck in front of Zhuang Yichen. So when she said, what's there to be afraid of? At this time, she had only taken a few steps when a strong force pressed her against the solid wooden staircase from behind and flipped her over. Ah! Xiaoya was in so much pain that she frowned. The corner of the stairs behind her was hurting her back. Zhuang Yichen didn't have any tender feelings for the fairer sex. He pressed against her body and smiled lightly. How dare you reject the gift I said I would give you? Your demands are so high. It's obvious that you don't want to give it to me. I already said that I won't give it to you. I'm Mrs. Zhuang now. What's there to be afraid of? Xiaoya frowned and snorted. If this man had the slightest bit of sincerity, he wouldn't make things difficult for her like this. He didn't think about his height and his strong muscles. If he put them on the scale, the needle would definitely spin very fast. Yi Er had the ability to carry Jiang Zhao, so she had the ability to carry Zhuang Yichen. Although Jiang Zhao and Zhuang Yichen were about the same height, she was smaller than Yi Er. She didn't believe that she had the ability to ask Yi Er to carry Jiang Zhao. Humph. Stinky thing, you're swearing again. Zhuang Yichen frowned, but he laughed. Is this the first day you know? Who asked a young master from the upper class like you to not know how to say it? F***ck. Then you're a madam from the upper class now. That's right. This madam is going to sleep. If you don't carry me upstairs, you can sleep on the stairs. Are you trying to murder me? Zhuang Yichen laughed and lowered his head to kiss Xiaoya's chest. So rough. I like it. Master. Xiaoya wanted to run away. What was he trying to do? Was he trying to fight on the stairs? No, no. Her back hurt too much. Even if you like it, don't do it here. If you do it on the stairs, it won't be very harmonious. Although Zhuang Yichen agreed, he dragged Xiaoya down roughly. He dragged her directly to the big flat steps in front of the stairs. There was a whole wool carpet on top of it. Then it's not on the stairs. I already said that you'll do it today. Are you still going to deny it? I can't carry you. You haven't even carried me before and you're already saying that you can't carry me. You're too irresponsible to give up on something that you haven't even tried. Zhuang Yichen's fingers tightened. Xiaoya was in so much pain that she screamed, "Aw. You're crazy," he snorted. "This is your punishment. You don't have perseverance and willpower when doing things. You give up so easily. As Madame Zhuang, don't you think that your resistance is a little too weak? My resistance is already very strong." "Strong?" Zhuang Yichen flipped the woman over and Xiaoya landed on his body. He smiled faintly. "Show me how strong you are." Xiaoya was stunned. This change of posture was really fast. This was not bad. As long as he didn't want her to carry him upstairs, everything was fine. Zhuang Yichen smiled faintly as he watched the woman kiss and tease him slowly. The process was too torturous. He wanted her to do something, but it was really inefficient. Thus, he ended her slow and teasing work when he was dissatisfied. They rolled together on the carpet. Zhuang Yichen's breathing became more and more rapid. He was already dissatisfied with the movement of Xiaoya's waist. But just as he was about to exert force, the doorbell rang. He wanted to ignore it and at least let him out. Who knew that the doorbell was not satisfied with just ringing, and the knocking on the door became louder and louder. God! No one in the 9th mansion would knock on the door like this unless the house was on fire. Xiaoya's face was also red. She hugged Zhuang Yichen tightly and called out his name in a low voice. Zhuang Yichen's lungs were about to explode. He picked the woman up and wanted to give her a few more forceful kisses. The doorbell rang and the sharp voice of Mrs. Chiu sounded. "Daughter, son-in-law. Open the door for us. Are you asleep?" Ad Hongcha 866. Chapter 758. The lights are still on. Hurry up and open the door for Mom and Dad. Zhuang Yichen gritted his teeth and almost cursed it out loud. Xiaoya was so anxious that her legs were about to buckle. This was a splash of cold water. It would take more than a minute or two to achieve the same effect. When they opened the door, Mr. and Mrs. Chiu were beaming with joy. Xiaoya and Zhuang Yichen were both wearing matching pajamas. They looked unsatisfied and called out with a smile, "Dad, Mom. Uncle, Auntie." Mr. and Mrs. Chiu were stunned. They looked at Zhuang Yichen and asked, "Aren't you already married? Why aren't you changing the way you address us?" Zhuang Yichen realized that he had to address his parents-in-law as Mom and Dad. Sometimes, he wasn't used to it. When he spoke, he was a little stiff. "Dad, Mom." Mr. and Mrs. Chiu didn't mind. "It's fine. Let's go in." In the living room, Xiaoya made tea for Mr. and Mrs. Chiu. Zhuang Yichen did not listen to a single word that Father and Mother Chiu said. He kept regretting that he should not have dawdled downstairs for so long. If Xiaoya had returned, he would have eaten her up. When his parents-in-law arrived, they had already finished. But who would have thought that they would still come at such a late hour? "Yichen, Yichen," Mrs. Chiu called out again. Zhuang Yichen snapped out of his daze. "Aw. Mom." Although Mrs. Chiu was a little plump, she always had a smile on her face. Her skin was very fair and she wore a high-quality pearl necklace that Xiaoya had bought for her. She looked like a rich lady after living a good life for so many years. "Yichen, when is your wedding?" Xiaoya thought to herself, "Don't ask. If we don't have sex tonight, the wedding will be over." "Mom, the wedding is in half a month. I'll let Uncle Li pick a date. It doesn't have to be a holiday, just an auspicious date. Uncle Li believes in this." Zhuang Yichen listened to Li Yong in this aspect. Even if it was just a suggestion, he would listen to it. When Mama Chiu heard this, she shook her head. "Aya, how can we do that? What if it's not a holiday? What if you and Boss Chiu's friends don't have a holiday?" Then, we won't be able to collect as many monetary gifts. No, no, no. Even if we can't get enough money, we still have to take 2 days off. Mr. Chiu was a man of few words, but he agreed with Mrs. Chiu. Xiaoye thought that this was indeed a problem. Zhuang Yichen was puzzled. Were there any of his friends who dared to evade the gift money? Those who had been invited shouldn't care about the double day. However, in order to show his respect for his mother-in-law, Zhuang Yichen could only nod his head. In the end, they decided to meet on the weekend half a month later. Zhuang Yichen's mother had a lot of things to take note of during a wedding, but Zhuang Yichen had been waiting for them to leave. In the end, Mama Chiu suggested that they stay over for the night. Zhuang Yichen broke down. Zhuang Yichen said that he was going upstairs to get something. Then, he went upstairs and called Xiaoye to ask her to come up. The moment Xiaoye entered the bedroom, she was picked up by a wild wolf. The wolf's claws tore her underwear. Without saying anything, he lifted her leg and pushed his burning desire in. He gritted his teeth and said, "Ah, God, little demon Chiu, I'm going crazy because of your parents. What are they doing here in the middle of the night? What are you doing? Can't you wait?" Zhuang Yichen pumped quickly and panted as he said, "I'm dying of thirst. I'm waiting for them to leave, but they still want to sleep here. They'll be staying downstairs later. Now, I can only do you while they're in the living room. Otherwise, I'll have a psychological barrier when I'm on you upstairs if they're staying downstairs." At this moment, Zhuang Yichen couldn't care less about harmony. He only wanted to flush out the lava in his body. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to sit still. His goal was so simple. When Xiaoye was about to reach the peak, Zhuang Yichen only cared about himself. It ended hastily. Although she was a little depressed, she didn't have to hold it in anymore. However, Xiaoye held it in. In the past, Xiaoye wanted to live with her parents after they got married. That way, she would be very happy. Now that she thought about it, if Zhuang Yichen had a psychological barrier every day, then her husband's day of adultery was not far away. That night, Papa Chiu and Mama Chiu stayed downstairs. Zhuang Yichen hugged Xiaoye several times and was very impulsive. However, just as he was about to squeeze into her body, he stopped. He was afraid that the movements on the bed would be too loud, or that he and Xiaoye would make some noise that the people downstairs would hear. If it was someone else, it would be fine. It was the same for Yannian. However, it was an elder. He felt very awkward. He was thinking, no wonder Yunyi only found out that she was pregnant during the wedding. Previously, Yun Hongwei stayed at Jiang Zhao's house. Was it the same for Jiang Zhao and Yunyi? Were they unable to do anything when they slept on the bed? If they couldn't do anything, how could they get pregnant? Zhuang Yichen felt that he wasn't young anymore. He knew that Xiaoye had been taking birth control pills. Since they were going to get married, then he should have a child with Xiaoye after getting rid of Zhuang Yifeng. However, if his parents-in-law stayed downstairs every day, he probably couldn't have a child. This made Zhuang Yichen very angry. Fortunately, the next morning, Papa Chiu and Mama Chiu prepared breakfast. After eating with them, they went back. Before they went back, they told them to take good care of themselves. If they didn't understand anything about the wedding, remember to call and ask. Zhuang Yichen's heart relaxed. Did calling mean that they didn't have to meet face to face? He finally revealed a rare flattering smile. Dad, Mom, we will take good care of ourselves. You should take care of yourselves too. If there's anything you don't understand, we will call and ask. Zhuang Yichen didn't tell anyone about the wedding in half a month. He also told Xiaoye not to announce it to the public for the time being. However, Mama Chiu was a person who loved to show off. She told people she knew that her daughter was going to marry the famous Zhuang Yichen, making them envious. After Xia Qian heard about it, she told Qin Fian. Qin Fian told Jiang Zhao about it. Jiang Zhao told Yi Er about it while chatting. Yi Er called Xiaoya to congratulate her. Soon, the news spread everywhere. Zhuang Yichen didn't have time to care about it. The problem with the third phase of the shoreline property was a dispute between the property owners and the property management company. The property management fee per square meter for a large residential area with a few thousand households was 130 yuan to 160 yuan compared to a high-end residential area. After many years, the property owners complained incessantly. In the contract, the property management fee was specified as the amount. The third phase of the property was sold at a low price and quickly sold out. However, the property owners couldn't accept the high property management fee after moving in. The real boss of the property management company was Zhuang Yifeng. Zhuang Yifeng used his connections with the government to suppress the bloodshed. At that time, Jiang Zhao had given Zhuang Yichen an idea to let Zhuang Yichen's people move into the third phase of the house and join the owners' committee. Otherwise, they would not know much about the inside story. As expected, the property owners' committee didn't discuss anything other than the property management fee. The property owners' committee had requested to change the property management company many times, but they were all suppressed by Zhuang Yifeng's people. Zhuang Yichen and Jiang Zhao wanted to work together to remove Zhuang Yifeng's power. However, they had to offend a group of political figures. In addition to the banks, there was also the Planning Bureau, the Urban Construction Bureau, and so on. During this period of time, they didn't have time to set up a trap. Zhuang Yichen was urging them to solve it as soon as possible. Jiang Zhao felt a headache coming on. For half a month, Zhuang Yichen and Jiang Zhao stayed up late almost every day. Jiang Zhao especially had to sleep with Yi Er every day. Then, he would video call Zhuang Yichen about the third phase of the shoreline property. Xiaoya would try on the wedding dress she made every day. She dreamed of being a beautiful bride. Zhuang Yichen was a person who couldn't tolerate sand in his eyes. He arranged for people to follow Xiaoya. It was impossible for Kang Yun to get close to her. However, Zhuang Yichen never mentioned a word about how to deal with Kang Yun in front of Xiaoya. The news of Zhuang Yichen's woman was already shocking. What's more, there were tabloid newspapers that started to research Xiaoya. They listed her transformation from Cinderella to a rich career woman. Some people speculated that her fame had a lot to do with Zhuang Yichen. Many people started to edit the photos and videos of Qiu Xiaoya's fashion shows. It wasn't hard to find that even though different women appeared around Zhuang Yichen, there was always a man sitting in the VIP seat at Qiu Xiaoya's fashion shows. That man was Zhuang Yichen. Xan Man looked at the newspapers. Her eyes were empty as if her soul had been sucked out of her body. Xan Man looked at the reports about Zhuang Yichen. She ignored the man who was slowly walking down the stairs. When she was shackled into a strong embrace, she was so scared that her whole body trembled. What's wrong? Are you jealous? You must be dreaming that one day, he will come and take you back from me, right? Xan Man, have you miscalculated? Look at these reports. Qiu Xiaoya suddenly became famous in the past few years because of Zhuang Yichen. Are you still dreaming? Don't you know that the man in your heart is already entangled with that woman? Zhuang Yichen is going to marry Qiu Xiaoya. Do you know that? Have you given up? Xan Man didn't listen to a single word. She just stumbled out of the villa and started the car. In order to show that he got his marriage certificate earlier than Zhuang Yichen, Qin Fian insisted that the wedding be held earlier. Qin Rongfang didn't agree. He thought it was ridiculous. How could they change the date that was set from the beginning? However, Qin Fian said, now that Qian Qian is pregnant, what if she faints and vomits like sister-in-law during the wedding? What should we do? Qin Rongfang was so happy that he almost had a heart attack. After he calmed down, he urged the servants to make new wedding invitations. He called one by one to reschedule the wedding date. Qin Fian got married before Zhuang Yichen. With the title of Young Madam of the Qin family, Xia Qian's career suddenly became smooth sailing. The TV station deliberately arranged for her to host programs with famous hosts. With the special title of Young Madam of the Qin family, even the famous hosts were very polite to her. Awesome novel, Hongcha 866. Chapter 759. Xia Qian finally ushered in a turning point in her life. She suddenly felt as if every page of her almanac had begun to write, "Today is an auspicious day. Everything goes well." She still couldn't remember the past. She couldn't remember that she had once promised to marry someone when she was 12, nor could she remember that she had lost her biological parents the following year. But every time she ate the orange fruit candy Qin Fian gave her, she would crunch it with her teeth and then smile as she sucked in the sweetness in her mouth. She couldn't describe the taste, but she felt that it was especially delicious. It was a taste that drilled into her taste buds and slowly overflowed into her nerve endings. It was a distant yet familiar taste. Qin Fian pulled Xia Qian to see his sugar factory. He stood in the small factory, put his arm around her shoulder, and told her, "Qian Qian, since you like it, I'll let this factory run for the rest of its life. It'll only make candy for you." At that time, Xia Qian took the initiative to fall into Qin Fian's arms for the first time. When her face was pressed against his chest, she was moved by Qin Fian for the first time and shed tears for the first time. She told him that those were the most beautiful words she had ever heard in her life. She said, "Qin Fian, those words should be words of love, right?" For the first time, Qin Fian felt that Xia Qian wasn't stupid. He cupped her face and planted a kiss. "Qian Qian, do you believe that I love you now?" "Yes." "Is it because of this sugar factory?" "It should be." He smiled. This girl actually thought that he loved her because of candy. "Qian Qian, actually, we are deeply in love, but fate isn't shallow. You might understand one day. Don't always doubt me. You should believe that I love you, and believe that every word I say is sincere." When Xia Qian was dreaming, her mind was filled with those words. She suddenly sat up in bed when the night fell and dawn arrived. She tilted her head and looked at Qin Fian. His beautiful face was so beautiful. "If you and I are not deeply in love, why can't we talk about it?" She lowered her head and whispered into Qin Fian's ear, "Fian, I love you." Qin Fian's hand was pulled by someone, and the world spun around him. Qin Fian rushed over and howled anxiously, "You bastard! Do you have to wait for me to fall asleep before you tell me? If I really fall asleep, you're not going to tell me." Xia Qian's literary cells were beaten to a pulp. She started punching and kicking. "Qin Fian! You pervert! Do you want to fight?" "Yes." "You scoundrel! How dare you scold me? I'm an artistic young woman." Li Yong was very against Zhuang Yichen's wedding being held on the weekend. He had taken care of Zhuang Yichen since he was a child, so he was a bit old. When he got older, he was very superstitious. How could Chinese people only choose the holidays and not the almanac when they got married? But Xiaoye and Xiaoye's parents didn't seem to be very keen on this. They were fine as long as they could receive more red packets during the holidays. Li Yong had never been angry with Zhuang Yichen before. But because of this, he didn't take the initiative to speak to him for 3 days. Zhuang Yichen had deep feelings for Li Yong. With his unique excessive respect, he squatted in front of the stool Li Yong was sitting on and placed his hand on Li Yong's leg. "Uncle Li, I know that this matter has made you unhappy, but my father-in-law and mother-in-law have only married their daughter once. You know that Xiaoya has always loved money. When I told her that she wouldn't accept gifts, she argued with me for the whole night because of this. Why don't we just let her be this time? You told me before that Xiaoya doesn't cause any trouble. She has been with me all these years and hasn't made any excessive demands. She was the one who proposed the marriage, so let's do as she wants. Li Yong took a deep breath and shook his head. Yi Chen, it's not that Uncle Li is stubborn, but that day isn't suitable for marriage at all. As he spoke, tears suddenly flashed in his eyes. That's the only wish I have in my life. You, don't be so tired. Marriage is a big thing. The Zhuang family has let you and your mother down. When Miss married into the Zhuang family, I heard from the old man that the wedding date wasn't chosen. Think about what kind of life Miss had after she married into the Zhuang family. Young master, just listen to Uncle Li this time, okay? Uncle Li, I'm not a jerk like Zhuang Jingren. It's different. In the end, Li Yong could only sigh and agree to Zhuang Yichen's request. Xiaoya happily drew blueprints every day. For the wedding, other than the wedding ring, the wedding dress, and the gown, Zhuang Yichen left everything else to others. She continued working as usual. Every time a guest came to the door, she would always reveal a sincere smile that hadn't been seen in years. Everyone praised her. Mrs. Zhuang has become much prettier recently. The wedding is approaching, and I'm in a good mood. Discount, discount. Xiaoya's smile wasn't exaggerated, but her heart was fluttering. Every time someone called her Mrs. Zhuang, she felt as if she was about to fly into the sky. One had to know that her clothes were all custom-made, and there had never been a discount. Even when a bride came to order a gown, if she was familiar with it, she would directly give it to her for free when she was in a good mood. Zhuang Yichen generously entered Xiaoya's studio and was surrounded by a group of wealthy madams. Young Master Zhuang, you're getting more and more handsome. Zhuang Yichen rarely showed his emotions in public. At this time, he glanced at Xiaoya, who was taking measurements for the guests in the gown area, and smiled. All of a sudden, many women who had secretly fantasized about him were overjoyed. They were dizzy and disoriented, and they kept praising Miss Zhou for her good fortune. When Xiaoya noticed this, she hurried over. Zhuang Yichen was usually extremely cold. He would either glare coldly at people and turn to leave without giving them any face, or just like now, standing in the middle and being polite without saying anything to people. He wanted to get away, but he didn't know how to get away from the group of women in a polite way that didn't offend them. It seemed like he really went back in time. Xiaoya hooked her arm around Zhuang Yichen's arm. After greeting the group of madams, she pulled him upstairs. Why are you here? Zhuang Yichen finally relaxed and let out a sigh of relief. In the past, when he came in through the back door, he really didn't have to worry about this at all. He casually picked up a piece of fabric and looked at it. It was hard to imagine how Xiaoya could turn it into a beautiful gown. I'm here. If I don't come over, are you going to get into debt? What debt? Xiaoya poured herself a glass of water and gulped it down. Zhuang Yichen naturally took the glass in her hand and gulped down a mouthful of water. He was very thirsty. I heard that you've been giving out a lot of gowns recently. Oh my God. Dear, you even care about this? How much does it cost me to give out some clothes? How can I get into debt? You're a person who values money as much as your life. How can you be willing to give out clothes at a discount? Is there something wrong with your brain? The rumors are spreading like wildfire now. You're now the goddess of wealth. A gown usually costs at least tens of thousands. How can you be willing to give it away? Xiaoya pursed her lips. She obviously didn't want to talk about this anymore. With a face full of regret, she said, Okay, let's not talk about this anymore. I regret it every night. But when I come here in the morning, when people praise me and wish me well, I can't help but promise to give them things. After giving them away, I regret it. When you say this, my intestines are green with regret. Zhuang Yichen put down the glass. Looking at her expression, he really didn't want to talk about it anymore. He hugged her in his arms. Okay, give it away. If you're in debt, I'll help you pay it back. For some reason, his eyes caught a glimpse of her work table. There was a bottle of something in the drawer below. He frowned. Don't take that medicine anymore. When your body is well, we can be like Jiang Zhao and have a baby. Xiaoye was delighted. Really? Really? You can't have a baby even if you stop taking the medicine. You have to use protection in the middle. Are you willing? What's there to be willing about? It's what I should do. You can buy it for me tonight. You know best. His breath scattered on her lips. Her heart palpitated and she kissed him back. When she let go of him, she choked and said, Yichen, I've finally finished my long-distance run, haven't I? Yes, you've reached the finish line. He continued to entwine his tongue with hers. Xiaoye thought that these few years hadn't been wasted. Her youth hadn't been wasted. In the end, she was luckier than others. How many women in the world could become official after being an underground prostitute? Even if there were, they were very few. But now, she was also one of those few people. She once thought that she was unlucky. Thinking about it, she was really lucky. If she hadn't boldly sat on him back then, if she hadn't given up on herself, how could the current Zhuang Yichen be her husband? Xiaoye was the seductive Xiaoye. That period of inexperience had long passed. She was already used to her current self. 4 years ago, when she moved her waist and sat in his arms, hooked her arms around his neck, and invited him to drink. At that time, she was the seductive Qiu Xiaoye. She had already forgotten what a gaze as clear as water should look like. She only knew that he seemed to like that look of hers a lot. She felt that he liked that kind of seductive Qiu Xiaoye. Thus, she allowed herself to translate the seductive look even more deeply into the wood. Although they were rarely together, and when they were together, they were in bed. But every time he gritted his teeth and breathed out the 3 words, "Little Demon Qiu," on her body, she was extremely happy. Her legs were always able to wrap around his body like vines. At the backstage of the press conference, he hid from the crowd and blocked her, pressing her against the wall. You know that you're going to be on the runway today, yet you're still wearing such a short skirt. She hooked her legs around his waist. Isn't it just to make it easier for you to take it off at night? He flipped her over and pinned her against the wall. He easily lifted her skirt and hugged her from behind. He used all his strength to push against her nerves. At this moment, he lifted her skirt again. But after a passionate kiss, he stopped and endured with difficulty. Little demon, remember to buy it tonight. Okay. Xiaoye's face was flush red, and her eyes were watery. She was full of desire. Come and see, Hongcha 866. Chapter 760. I shouldn't have kissed you at a time like this, you vixen. Zhuang Yichen thought bitterly. This woman was born to seduce men. It was just a kiss, and she wrapped her legs around him. Didn't she know that her skirt was so short? She could have pressed her legs against his if she raised them. This crazy woman. What a bitch. He thought about how he had just told her not to take medicine. If he wanted to have a child, it had to be a healthy one. If it wasn't for this, he would have done it with her on the workbench like last time. Zhuang Yichen finally put down Xiaoye's legs. After Xiaoye calmed down, she giggled. Look at you. Zhuang Yichen said coldly, little vixen Qiu, you're very proud of yourself. This is the first time I've seen you restrain yourself like this. How can I not be proud? Xiaoya said as she tugged at the corner of her skirt. She lifted her butt and sat on the workbench with her legs crossed. She supported herself with one hand on the workbench and the other hand caressed her leg as she chuckled. Looks like you won't stop until you let me have sex with you here today. Zhuang Yichen clearly saw Xiaoya's seductive gaze. From the age of 21 to 25, she had practiced this gaze more and more. It was as if there was a delicate hand in her eyes, reaching out with her index finger and hooking him. When Xiaoya was pressed down this time, she thought that Zhuang Yichen would be able to hold it in. However, he had already rushed in and said in a low and rough voice, "I'll get you outside. You're not allowed to take medicine. You have to give birth to a healthy son in the future." How do you know that I'm not giving birth to a daughter? If I don't give birth to a son, who will inherit my family business? She panted and said angrily, "You value boys over girls. Yes, give birth to a son for me." After Zhuang Yichen left, a woman came to Xiaoya's shop. She asked Miss Qiu to design a dress for her. It was Axian Man. Even though Axian Man had put on makeup, tied up her hair, and dressed very tastefully, her eyes couldn't hide from Xiaoya, who had seen countless people. In Xiaoya's eyes, Axian Man was incomparably haggard. "Miss Qiu, let's talk." Axian Man went straight upstairs. "Oh. Are you talking about my husband?" Xiaoya stood in the same place, stretched her arms, and stood there leisurely, asking with a smile. Xiaoya was not Ye. She was old and had experienced a lot. She was not as calm as she appeared on the surface, but she was strong on the inside. She was jealous, but she didn't panic. In her eyes, Axian Man was nothing. She knew Zhuang Yichen well. He was a clean freak. How could he be interested in a woman who had slept with someone else? She didn't believe that Axian Man didn't have sex after marrying Zhuang Yichen. Zhuang Yichen was a person who couldn't tolerate sand in his eyes. The reason why she had lived a peaceful life for the past few years was because she had never accepted any man's love. She only found out about this later. Zhuang Yichen must have sent someone to follow her. Otherwise, with his clean freak personality, she really didn't know what the consequences would be if she messed around outside. Even when she went to a nightclub to look for a prostitute, he chopped her up before she even slept with him. Moreover, they had already broken up at that time. He would never allow himself to share a woman with another man. Fortunately, she had been clean all these years. Was that why Zhuang Yichen saw her in a different light? She looked at Axian Man's figure walking upstairs and smiled with a hint of mockery. "Miss Axian is so generous. You don't care about trifles." Xiaoya misunderstood that Miss Axian is a well-mannered person from a wealthy family. Xiaoya hated Zhuang Yichen to death. Why did he have to take the surname Zhuang? She didn't want to call Axian Man Mrs. Zhuang at all. Axian Man's footsteps froze. She turned back to look at Xiaoya. She was mocking her. "I don't think it's convenient to talk downstairs. If you want to talk about my husband, you can do it here." During this period of time, the guests who come and go always want to talk about him. "I talk about him once a day. It's not a secret." Xiaoya's indifferent and calm manner made Axian Man feel disgusted. "Miss Qiu, are you afraid to talk to me?" "Talk about what?" "Talk about whether you have slept together before. How many times did you do it in a night? Or what did he give you before? What promise did he make?" Xiaoya burst into laughter. She deliberately laughed like a prostitute. "Please, from the first day I slept with him, I knew that he wasn't a virgin. When he slept with me, I knew how many times he could do it in a night. Apart from this physical body, everything else I have now was given to me by him. He has given me so many things that I can't even count them. Last week, he promised me to get a marriage certificate. The next day, he went to the Civil Affairs Bureau. He promised me that we would get married in half a month. Oh, next week. Why do I still want to hear about your romantic history? Is it more exciting than mine? Xan Man looked at Xiaoya's arrogant reply and suddenly lost her sense of propriety. She turned around and stopped going upstairs. Instead, she walked to Xiaoya's side. Her hand holding her handbag was trembling. She gritted her teeth and said, "How can he like a woman like you? You're like a prostitute." "Me? How can I be a prostitute?" Xiaoya stretched out her index finger and pointed at the bridge of her nose. She glanced at Axian Man indifferently and turned her head. There were many large mirrors in her shop. If a customer came out in a gown and stood in the middle, they could see the reflection in all directions. At this time, she walked to the wall and looked at herself in the mirror. She raised her chin and stroked her hair. There was a hickey on her collarbone. She touched it and rubbed it. She thought to herself, that guy is really immoral. It's as if he's afraid that people don't know that I was slept with by a man in the shop today. Xan Man also noticed that Xiaoya was touching the hickey. She thought that if she kept helping Zhuang Yichen, he would marry her when Zhuang Yichen fell. However, Zhuang Yichen was about to marry another woman. She never knew that Zhuang Yichen had another woman. He actually hid Qiu Xiaoya so well. She was jealous. "Aren't you? You said it yourself. Apart from this physical body, everything else you have was given to you by him. Everything you obtained was from selling." Xiaoya turned around again. She leaned against the wall mirror. Today, she was wearing a dark purple one-piece dress. It was made of an elastic material that hugged her body, revealing her slender neck and exquisite collarbone. There was a sparkling diamond necklace that Zhuang Yichen had put on for her before he left. The black stockings on her legs made her legs look slender and sexy. No matter how cold the wind was outside, it had nothing to do with her. She usually exercised in the room. When she went out, she only needed to put on a coat. She only needed to walk a short distance before she could drive. There was air conditioning in the car. When she reached home, there was also air conditioning. Even in winter, she was wearing spring and autumn bareback shoes, inlaid with luxurious rhinestones. She lifted her feet backward and pressed them against the mirror. Her arms were spread out on the mirror. This was an unconcealed movement, as if she was showing off herself. Xiaoya's confidence came from the cracks of her bones. She had many years of experience on the runway. It could be said that for all these years, except for Zhuang Yichen, she looked up to others. She looked down at everyone else on the runway. Who was Xian Man? Old Qing. She even had an old Qing. Seeing Xiaoya displaying herself like this, Xian Man got even angrier. "You slutty vixen." Xiaoya laughed. "Xiao Man," she pretended to be intimate and called her. "Don't talk nonsense. My husband loves me like this. He likes it when I pester him like a little vixen. You don't know this, do you?" Xian Man breathed heavily. He once said that he would not have other women. He also said that he would not think about those romantic things before he took revenge. However, how could the Zhuang Yichen that came out of Xiaoya's mouth be like this? He was like a man who was addicted to sensual pleasures. He was definitely not the man she knew. Xiaoya looked at Xian Man, who was so angry that she could not stop laughing. She patted her hand under her collarbone as if she needed to calm down. She smiled enchantingly. "Besides, although everything I have is given by my husband, it can't be considered as a slut. Look at me now. I'm so rich. Even if I don't marry him, I can't be compared to you rich madams. I'm rich. What's the saying again? Wealth can't be slutty." Have you heard of this saying before? Axian man did not expect that she would be speechless by Qiu Xiaoya without saying anything. How could Zhuang Yichen like such a woman? It was impossible. Zhuang Yichen liked women like Mother Zhuang. They were quiet and intelligent. Qiu Xiaoya was a gold digger. Zhuang Yichen hated such a woman. How could he marry her? There must be a conspiracy. There must be. She should support him unconditionally. Hadn't she always done so? She had always helped him. She was the one who had always helped him. What was this Qiu Xiaoya? She could not ruin any of his plans. She would not be a woman who got in his way. She looked at Xiaoya and finally exhaled. She smiled faintly as if she had already won. I'm looking forward to the day when he abandons you. This was the most powerful and confident sentence Axian man had said before she left. Her confidence shocked Xiaoya for a moment. She suddenly realized that she had been kept in the dark about something. When Zhuang Yichen returned to the company, he contacted Jiang Zhao. Jiang Zhao had collected information about the people in charge of the banks involved in the third phase of the Shoreline project, the people in charge of the planning and approval department, as well as the background of these people. He looked through them one by one and made notes on which were steamed buns, which were stones, which were iron, and which were steel. He used markers of different colors to mark them according to their level. Some could be eaten directly, some had to be smashed, and the harder ones had to be smelted. Hello. He picked up the phone and did not forget about the work at hand. Brother Zhao, is the information ready? Zhuang Yichen sat at his desk and played with a small square gift box in his hand. There was a diamond brooch in the box. He liked to buy this kind of thing recently. In the past, he never needed to give her a gift. Now that they were together in public, it seemed that he had not given her enough. Awesome novel, Xinwu 799. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.